Hey, welcome again. Got another episode of Cardboard Conversations tonight. Special guest here, Nikachu. How you doing, bud? Great to see you.
Hey, thank you so much for letting me on your show.
No, pleasure. Look forward to having some conversation about various Magic the Gathering stuff. A couple of other board games as well. As you can see, MTG Gaming Bob's got a wonderful feature of a chess set. Hey, Bob, how you doing, bud?
Doing great. Loving to be here tonight.
Matt, nice to see you this evening.
Thanks for having me. I've got the new Capenna, one of the Demon Kings, I believe, from the
next
Nicholas. Yeah.
Looks like you also got a new haircut there too.
I did.
High speed, low drag.
I took care of that last night. It was getting too long.
Well, hey, looks like we got a pretty nice audience here tonight. Good to see everybody out there. Hope you have fun this evening. Got a whole bunch to talk about. Looks like Nuka Penna's got a nice pre-electronic release. They're going old school. It's going to be paper first. So we're going to be able to see that in person. Got a couple of shopping sites for singles. Going to talk about maybe where we're scoring some of our cardboard, and got a bunch of questions for Nikachu. So I'm wondering, hey, Nikachu, what do you think about cardboard Magic coming out before the electronic release? It's not getting all spoiled on Arena. So you're going to have to go down and get your cards at the store.
Well, I mean, it's no super big deal to me. I mean, I don't see the reason why you can't have it earlier. I would almost say that we should do it a little bit earlier to support the local game stores. Some people say it's completely negligible, it doesn't matter, but I would disagree. I'm certain that there's got to be some people that enjoy the Magic experience first. They get their fix on online, either on MTG Arena or Magic the Gathering online in some way, which then is going to detract them a little bit from the paper experience. I don't think it's going to make a huge deal, but it's probably going to make a smidge of something, and that might be enough to letting the local game stores have the pre-release first. So I don't have any big strong opinions or feelings about it, but why not? Like, why does online need to get the cards first?
Right. And Bob, I know you're living not too far away from Joey Moss. You think you're going to run down to him while you're getting some cards on the 22nd, or are you going to stay away from the store?
No. But
there you go. Short and sweet, right?
You know, we're still practicing safe protocols here in our household. We're starting to venture out slightly more than we have in the past couple of years. Looking forward to actually getting out there. Lots of stuff that I'd like to do. I'll even kind of spoil it here. One of the ideas that Matt and I had some time ago was to try to get out and do what's called like an LGS road trip and feature some of the LGSs, get them, some FaceTime online. So looking forward to actually doing that. But I do not plan to go do the pre-release events just yet in store.
Mm-hmm. And Matt, same kind of deal for you? Or are you staying homebound for this one? Or are you going to venture out?
I'm not too concerned with staying home or whatever for the event. I've had it twice, so I'm fairly resistant to it. So it's not too big a deal for me. I'm fairly healthy and whatnot, so I'm pretty okay. But as far as whether I want to go do a pre-release event, I don't know. It's been a very long time since I've done any pre-release event besides doing it online. So I do find it a little strange that they're doing it only in person. Maybe I will. I'll have to talk to some buddies. If a couple of my buddies if they want to go, maybe I'll make it a special event or something. I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to see more spoilers of the cards, see if there's anything good.
Right. And that's something that we'll definitely see coming up. It seems that Magic is ever forward in how early we're getting previews of cards. We've already seen some stuff for Unfinity with their full art lands, and it appears that that'll be another 9 months plus before we actually get that, depending on if Amazon's got the actual release date. Speaking of Amazon, is that where anybody's getting any of their product? I've never bought singles off of Amazon. Definitely not. I've gotten some sealed product, but I usually get my singles off of my local gaming store or maybe off a TCG player. Now, Nikachu, you play a lot of Modern. When you build up your decks, are you skulking around trading in cards, or are you getting them right off of the internet?
I mean, I'm getting them usually from my local game store. I am lucky to have one, Fusion Gaming Online, who they have a very wide inventory of cards, and if they don't have anything immediately, you just, you buy list it, and eventually it's going to show up. But I'm heavy on the singles. Like, I have not opened a booster in years unless I won the booster. And I mean, that's the only way you're going to get me to open up any sealed product. So I'm very heavy on the singles that I need, because the odds of opening what I need from a booster is basically impossible. And then if I get them, if I just need a random single, I'll just get it locally. Now, when it comes to specialty singles, like, there used to be this time where I was big into foil Japanese cards, and then I had to scour the internet for these things. And I found a lot of them on eBay, to be honest. I would look at the stuff that's buy it now for eBay. So I have bought a lot of singles from there before, but I've never really gotten anything from Amazon, unless it was like sometimes sleeves, top loaders. I don't know. That's maybe a deck box. Sometimes, not a whole lot though, to be honest.
Well, have you seen the latest, Nikachu, on Amazon? As a matter of fact, we covered it last week, that the only place that you can get these 3 tokens, I don't have them up tonight, are from Japanese only, Amazon only booster boxes. And I believe that for the upcoming new Capenna, I can't remember which product they're going to be in, but they're just 10 card packs that are going to be Japanese only released. Now, I don't know exactly what's in them, but is that the type of specialty stuff that you're hunting if you would hunt something on Amazon? Would you go for those type of things that you can only get exclusively through Amazon?
I mean, the thing, I would just want what was opened, right? So I'd be looking for the singles. I want the Japanese singles in the end. So after it's reached the secondary market, okay, that's what I want. Then I'd go snap it up if I can. But,
so you don't open boosters. You don't open boosters at all.
No, we don't. No, I don't open boosters. I will. This is like maybe a little foreshadowing for a video I'm going to have. I think I opened my first booster in a very long time just today, but for a very special reason. Here, you can even see the result of my booster. There is a
good lord,
Oketra the True here. It's not in the greatest condition, but we had to sacrifice Oketra for science.
That's near mint.
It's near mint with.
Yeah, it's near mint minus the other problems with this card. But anyway, Oketra the True.
Oh, jeez.
But outside of that, no, I'm a singles buyer.
But was that a test to see if a pack is waterproof?
Yes.
I can tell you they're not.
Well, that's something I wasn't sure about until I learned about that today.
I actually learned about this recently. I went to one of my LGSs and I asked them if they had any Wyvern booster packs. Wyvern is an old game back from like MTG, like right around that era in the 90s. And it wasn't as successful as Magic, obviously. And he said, "Yeah, I think I have a booster box. I mean, they don't go for a lot. They're like $100, maybe even still now." And he's like, "I'll have to check my storage." Well, he sent me a picture of it was just moldy and waterlogged and damaged. He's like, "You don't want any of these." So yeah, packs are not waterproof, unfortunately.
Oh God, that's awful.
Yeah, it sucks because I was really. He said he had a box. I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome."
And I always thought they were airtight because of the smell of the glue and the ink when you opened up the packs.
Yeah.
That wonderful aroma. How is that possible if they weren't airtight already?
Well, I think they're getting worse. Like, especially if you've looked at the new collector boosters. I don't have any to show you, but Rudy's pointed out that one of the tests they used to do is look at the corners of the tops of the packs, if there was any kind of gap, and now there are. Like in Crimson Vow and Kamigawa both, you can see they're not completely sealed on the top corners.
Yeah, they have like this really weird little air pocket thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's open to the pack. Like, I think that goes all the way down into the pack, so it clearly would not be airtight or watertight.
So,
and the ink you speak of, that smell back from the day, if that's what you're talking about, that smell's gone. It's not there anymore.
Just goes to show how much sealed boosters I open.
I was watching a YouTube video recently. Some highfalutin YouTube creator had made something about people getting their cards graded. Now, this guy had opened up a pack of, I believe it was Pokemon, some of their random series that they've put out. And fresh from the pack. This guy gets to actually go to a grading company. Now he brings this card in. He only gets a 9.5 overall. If you look really close, it was a 9.0 for edges because of all the loose area inside of a pack. Brand new, straight from a pack. Only 90% of it is got good edges. It's pretty wild how much space they're putting in them. Yeah.
So singles is the way that you go. I mean, I tell people all the time the surest way to lose money in Magic is, well, to open packs. And yeah, I agree with you. Going to singles now. TCG has probably become my venue of choice. I don't know what you guys. They often have like discounts if you have content creators that you're following. And maybe you could look into getting that. You're pretty big, Nikachu, to get that. What do they call that?
Affiliate code,
affiliate link.
Yeah.
So I think it's rapidly taking over the place of eBay. eBay seems to be second or third stop for most people nowadays.
Yeah, I definitely like to cross-reference a lot of my prices when I'm on TCG Player. If anything's over $7.50, $10, I like to see if I can get a good deal over on an eBay listing. I've definitely gotten some stuff, below market price because it's definitely just, end seller to end buyer. So you skip out on a lot of the middlemans. You're just paying eBay instead of all the other platform fees.
Yeah, I only used eBay for those like really rare cards that you could just never find in a local game store, especially the American local game stores.
Yeah, my most recent purchase was a commander deck from an LGS, and that went pretty well. It's pretty nice to be able to just send them a list of cards on Facebook and then drive there. And by the time you drive there, they have most of the cards or all of the cards already selected and ready to go. But if I know that I can't go out, and actually go pick them up, I'll order them from TCG or eBay. Those are the two that and a little bit of Star City Games, but not much.
I always love looking around in the glass case. Now, they put in some nice little LED lights, so it's got some like cool color coming down on the cards. It's cool to get a variety of stuff, things that you wouldn't really look for. But hey, if they got it down a shelf, maybe it's a little bit below market. It's nice to look through the binders too. I'm a fan of doing the trading in the trading card game, so I actually get a decent amount for my buddies too.
Yeah, I wonder how those neon inks are going to show up. Maybe they're going to start putting them in black light cases in the stores. That'd be pretty sweet.
All right.
Glow in the dark cases.
Yeah, I was down at my LGS not too long ago, and they had some Commander Collection blacks. So I figured I'd pick one of those up. And it's not something I would have ever bought off of, Amazon, eBay, anything like that. But since they had it and I could support a local friend, it was nice to be able to, pick up a random thing like that. And Nikachu, one of the things. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
No, stream of consciousness here. So speaking about cards that you would pick up, what are you looking for this year, Nikachu? And what are you looking forward to for picking up? Do you know? Do you expect any modern releases this year? Are you making any predictions for what's going to come out in the sets?
I mean, like, I'm picking. I already picked up some Ottawaras. I don't have them on me, but it came with this booster that I opened. So I picked up some Ottawaras because it looks like a lot of decks are now going to be running Ottawara, the Soaring City, more than just Merfolk. There's control decks. There's Living End. There's a lot of people are using this in Modern. So I think it hit the floor of its price. So now is the time, at least in my mind, to buy. Not financial advice out there, but I thought now is the time to buy it. But I just take it by ear. If I don't need the card, if I know it's not going to be part of my toolbox, my collection, then I don't buy it until I definitely do need it. But I know Ottawara, the Soaring City, is definitely going to be a staple to the Merfolk deck, so that's why I bought it immediately. But it's hard to tell what you need, like what's going to come out. For quite a while, like since like Eldraine, or at least even, War of the Spark, it was quite evident that there was going to be new cards coming out all the time, so you could always wait and expect new cards being added to Modern. But it looks like since Crimson Vow, they really slowed things down. There's still cards breaking their way into Modern, of course, Boseiju, Ottawara, and a few others, but for the most part, it looks like they're slowing things down, and I just got to wait and see if they're still going to make some more Modern staples.
It's nice to have somebody else that plays a different format because most of us, we play Commander. Do you dabble in Commander at all?
Yes, technically speaking, but like not a whole lot. Like I'll
You
play
dabble.
one, like I would guess I'm playing Commander 3 times a year. Just I
Okay.
have a quick story with you. I had a Commander deck since 2010, but
Wow.
like I had no one to play this Commander deck with. And then I start picking up like a pretty reliable group of friends in Magic. We travel to tournaments all the time, we go to F&M all the time, etc. They don't play Commander. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hits and they're like, sorry. So we're not playing Commander. I have tons of these cards have grown in value since 2010. So I'm like, by 2018, okay, I'm gonna sell them all. Let's get rid of the Chromox and the Ristic Studies. They're like insane amounts of money. So the pandemic hits, and now my friends are like, why don't we get into Commander? And I'm like, I've known you guys for forever. I've had this command. I sold all the good cards, and now I got to rebuy them, and they've inflated even more in price. Like Chrome Ox, I sold it for like 30 Canadian dollars, and it was like at something like $100 by the time I had to buy it again. So anyway, I'm now going to hold on to my Commander deck with diamond hands. I'm never selling any of the cards from there ever again. For whatever reason, I'll hold on to the thing till I'm dead. But the point is, yeah, so I sometimes play Commander. I technically have a Commander deck.
It's interesting you mentioned that. Right when this whole unspecified illness started up, down at my LGS, it was pretty much draft, modern, and a couple of standard nights. Then beginning of maybe 2021, they actually started doing commander nights once a week. And then they started doing D&D stuff as well. So now Thursday nights, you can get in a D&D game. And then also Sundays, you can pick up a game of Commander. 5 hours of Commander available down there. So seems like it really is, the new format seems to be what they're really pushing.
Yeah, the point that I was going to make about having somebody else on that plays a different format is those channel cards. When I first read them, I'm like, I don't understand why the green one, I forget what it's called, the one that I think it destroys an
Proteju.
artifact or an enchantment. I'm like, why is that so much money? It's kind of a crap card. But then I didn't think about in a modern format where it's uncounterable. There's nothing really you could do to interact with it from what I can tell. It's a pretty good card in that format.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's like Disenchant. There is a card that's like Disenchant. It's like a green and one generic. It's like a green Disenchant. So this is Disenchant attached to a land.
Yeah.
Right.
And like so it like opens up, it frees spots in your sideboard for artifact, and it like hits non-basic lands too or something. I don't know all the modes on this thing, but like it's a really reliable card, and the only disadvantage is your opponent gets a land. But like whatever, you don't have to, you can use it as a land drop if you really want to. So like yeah, these lands are really nice.
I think they're going to find their way into Commander as well. There's no drawback to them other than not being fetchable.
Oh, they don't come into play tapped, which is nice.
Right.
Right.
So
yeah.
I see that these are definitely going to make their way into Commander. It's almost like the dual mode cards or the flip cards, whatever you want to call them. Only they don't come into play tap. So I think these will definitely see widespread play. I think you're going to see play in just about every format.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see why you wouldn't play it in Commander, and it's legendary, big deal.
Well, I mean, you can only play one of them anyways in Commander.
Mm-hmm.
And Savannah's got a good one there for you as well, Nikachu. What do you think about the 4-player of a modern game? Is that similar enough? Is that too out of the norm for you?
I've never done that before. I have no idea what that looks like. And I don't even want to know what it looks like when you have like two really aggressive combo decks against each other. I mean, I guess it's the same as like maybe CEDH. You might have like multiple combo decks.
Have you checked into CEDH? I recommend if you have the time, which I did want to ask you, like, do you watch any other content creators? But who is a Kingdom TV? They do a lot of CEDH, and I'll be honest with you, within 5 minutes, if I'm trying to drink coffee and pay attention, I'm already lost. It's like doing calculus, but the way that they stack things on their on their interactions when they start peeling back the stack, half the time they're not even playing cards. They like show that they have a card, and they go around the table of, well, I got this card and I got this card and I would do it this way. And they don't even play the cards. They talk about how they would play the cards and how the
That's
deck
a
would
bit
resolve
weird.
it. Like, Jesus, it gets pretty squirrely pretty fast in CEDH. For
I
sure.
imagine, but the thing is, like, I imagine in CEDH they've played the same cards over and over again. They've played the same decks over and over again, so they already know the interactions. People already know what's going to happen before it's even like the stack is even finished. So that's why it like moves at a faster pace. The same thing happens in a lot of competitive formats, like play a spell, counter spell, okay, force a negation, or some sort of interaction. Like things can move very very quickly because the same types of play patterns happen over and over again.
I wouldn't say it's so much the same decks because they are so diverse, but there are certainly a lot of staples in CEDH that you see certain interactions. And I think that's why they just start going around the table rather than wasting the time of actually playing things out. They'll just talk it through and say, okay, well, then I concede. I'd recommend checking it out. It's interesting, especially for somebody like you that's so, in tune with what the next play is about to be. I was thinking today, like, would I describe you as a reactive player because you're waiting to cast those counter spells and whatnot? But that's not really accurate. You're an anticipating player. You play a lot of anticipating type of moves, and I think that's probably a little more accurate rather than being just more reactive. You're intuitively aware of what's about to be played.
That's nice, actually. I've never heard of a playstyle being described as
Anticipatory.
Anticipatory. Yeah, I've never. That's the first time ever, and I think that's a really nice, clean way of describing, perhaps a sort of a tempo-ish deck.
Yes,
Tempo-ish. Not exactly fully tempo, but tempo-ish. But personally, I really like the idea of 1-versus-1 commander. I would love to see this as a real format from Wizards of the Coast. I would love to play leagues.
I've definitely played more than a few games of exactly that. And we also, my lunch is usually a 3-person commander game, and we try and do it in like 35 to 40 minutes. So we put together some really rough decks. I'm building up about the grossest Narset deck I can do. That way I can get, by turn 10, somebody's got me killed or I've won the game. So it's just like, come on, boys, let's hurry this up. We got to finish up our ramen and get back to our desk.
It's pretty interesting how drastically different commander decks can play just by the number of players you have in the game. There are a few decks that my buddy makes that his decks just don't function if, like, he's got a goading deck. Well, the goading does no good if you're the only player. So 1v1, his goading deck absolutely does nothing. So it's very interesting.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, the more players there are, the more political a lot of decisions can get, but also some cards scale better when there's multiple players at the table. Like, with cards that say, each opponent hits this effect or is infinitely better than... Like Lightning Bolt, for example, is a tier one card in basically every format, Legacy, Modern, whatever it's legal in. Whereas in Commander, Lightning Bolt seems like unplayable.
It's like never played.
Yeah, exactly. So it comes down to how well do cards scale with more people versus well do cards scale versus one person.
It's definitely a different style of play.
Yeah, it's definitely a total game changer. You add in just another person. Sometimes our pod does a 5-person game as well. So when you have that extra trigger, Smothering Tithe, if you're playing against a 1-versus-1, totally different type of card versus a 5-person commander game. You just get that much more power off of a Rhystic Study. Every time it's that much better. But it's also nice to be able to have, like you were saying, the politics of it. Maybe you get that person to draw cards when this triggers instead of the person right across the table from you heads up every time.
Yeah, that's another interesting aspect you just touched on, because in Magic, you will 100% hurt your opponent. Sorry, like in a 1v1 game. 100%. You will always do as much damage to your opponent, whereas in Commander, you have the option to help somebody else that might help you down the line. That is a dynamic that just does not exist in any 1-versus-1 format.
It's also a dynamic that a lot of people don't take advantage of in playing Commander games. They just don't know. Yeah. I mean, just last week I was in my league there's a Jake and Joel are Magic. They're doing leagues for Commander. and one of the players, another MTG channel, and it goes by Lance, Cothern Cards. He killed me first because he wanted to make sure he wasn't last for points. But I had literally nothing on the board. My commander was taken care of. It was turned into like a treasure or something. It was like something by the moon. It was basically turned into a mana. And I had literally nothing on the field, but he saw the opportunity to get a point. However, he ended up losing because he just didn't have enough to take care of another player. Had he asked me, well, I can eliminate you now, but can you assist me and take care of that threat? And then he would have kept me alive. I could have stayed around, and I did. I had 2 answers to threats that he couldn't answer. So had we done a little bit of more political play, it would have been a very different game. He might have won.
Yeah,
Very
I mean
interesting how much that can change.
That is the allure of Commander, is that the dynamics are extremely different. But speaking of those type of dynamics, I know that you're a very competitive player, being a chess master, and mostly, I guess, head to head. One of the things that we had discussed, based off of the different types of products that they seem to be coming up with in Magic, and one of them that I just got for Valentine's Day was Arch Enemy Nicol Bolas. I don't know if you're familiar with the Arch Enemy.
Barely. I know it exists. It
It's
was
a
like an
1v
old
many.
format, right? It's like around 2010 or something.
Yeah. And it's a 1v many, right? Where
Yes.
3 of you are going up against one person. Or
Bring it.
one of the things that we had considered potentially as something down the road for Magic to develop is a co-op completely. All the players at the table are on the same team, attempting to defeat whatever mechanic they create, whether it's a special deck that plays out a certain way, or if there's an assist with an app that other games have, other board game type apps. But some way to be more innovative and creative with Magic would be to come up with a co-op version of the game. Would that be something that you also just don't care much for?
I would care nothing for this, but like they had something like this once, didn't they? Wasn't it like fight the Hydra or face the Hydra from Theros? There was something with
familiar, actually.
it was basically you or as many people as you want fight against some sort of Hydra, but I don't know how it worked because boy did I not care about what they were doing over there. And also that standard environment was really fun for me, so I never even paid attention to it. But they did something like that. But the fact that they have not, like you're telling me here that they've never made, they never further developed this, clearly. That's something I almost can guarantee Magic players would love, because that sort of brings it into like a Dungeons and Dragons style of cooperation where you all win or you all lose in a way.
Exactly right. It is called Face the Hydra.
It'd be a snap hit. So if they haven't done this, they got to further develop it.
No, thanks. That's one of the things I've been thinking of, and one of those things like, well, if you could create something, what product would you like to see? So
if I could create, I would make anything like that. I would not be the leader of this, that's for sure. I play no. There's got to be some like a legitimate competitive element to it. Like my mind is facing the mind of somebody else, so it could be team based. Like I'm part of some team of people, although I mostly prefer individualistic. Like I was never like a sports team person. I didn't enjoy soccer, football, baseball. Was much bigger into chess. Basically it's all for myself in a way. Maybe in some way I might enjoy Arch Enemy if I'm the enemy, but that almost sounds appealing to me.
Have you ever
for the
played
cooperative
D&D?
stuff, we're going to leave someone else in charge of developing this.
Have you ever played D&D before, Nikachu?
No. I was invited once, and I'm like, I play enough dumb games. I cannot add more to my plate.
Right. I was just thinking that's not in like any sense a competitive sort of thing, but there's an odd dynamic sometimes of the dungeon master versus the participants. So it's kind of like, can I kill these guys? Can we beat the DM? Is he going to put enough stuff in the way so we can break the game, or is he going to kill us all?
Mm-hmm.
It's a bad trope to live up to, unfortunately. When I first started DMing, it was one of those, I thought that I had to beat the players, in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like, I gotta outthink them. I gotta like, put monsters in there that they can't beat or whatever. Because that's the whole goal in my mind at the time was just have them beat me and I beat them. But you learn that it's nowhere near that. You're a storyteller and you're there just to facilitate a story and kind of, guide them along their journey. It's a bit different now. I think D&D has changed over the years.
Oh yeah,
So, I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
One of the things that we had wanted to talk about, and something we had discussed prior to, or just after we learned that you were coming on the show, we knew that you were a grandmaster chess player, and I'm kind of curious how your involvement with that went. I've watched a number of your shows, and I think you said that you were into chess first, and then you got into Magic, but I don't know if you were in Magic prior to being in chess.
Yeah, Magic came first, actually. Magic came first.
Okay.
First, it was the Pokemon trading card game that led me to Magic, that led me to chess, that led me to poker, that led me to Magic, that led me back to poker and chess. Then I got deeper into chess, then dumped it for Magic, and here we are. Here we are.
Making a living. So if you were to make a chess board or a chess game out of Magic, who are you picking for your pieces? Namely, like the queens, the kings, the pawns, the rooks. Who would you pick for each of those positions on the board?
I mean, I guess I'm not familiar with who's named like an actual king or queen in the lore wise into Magic, but I would just assume like maybe Jace and Liliana as king and queen, because I know they had a thing between each other. I don't know all the romantic relationships between the lore of Magic the Gathering. What would I have for a bishop? I'm not sure. The pawns could be a squire. The knight could be like Knight of the White Orchard. What would the rook be? The rook is technically supposed to be archers. It's a tower with archers. That's why the rook only moves forward and left and right, because that's how far the arrows would go. Oh, the bishop's supposed to be an elephant. So a lot of people don't know this about chess. Bishop, that was just the European trend, the European adopted name for the bishop. Originally in all other languages prior to Europe adopting chess, it was the elephant. So what is an elephant, I guess, that we could use? I don't know, crashing footfalls could be the bishop. And I don't know, some sort of archer, I guess, for the rook.
Maybe zombies for the black pawns and knights for the white pawns.
Yeah.
Oh,
I did
like
not
that.
know
You went
about
deep
the
on
pieces.
this. You were thinking about this.
Oh yeah, we were thinking about it. All the way down to all the different pieces and the different kings and queens, and I don't know, Pat. I'm missing some of them, and
Yeah, I was
thinking,
Wanderer. If you're on the black side, you've got to get like Liliana as the queen, right? You know, maybe the king's going to be Markov. All right, the pawn pieces on the black side, definitely zombies for sure. They can only go a little ways. That's why, same thing on the white side. Those white pieces definitely got to be soldier tokens. I mean, come on. That's a gimme right there. The king, ooh, I don't know. That's
gotta be Gideon.
That's a tough one for me.
I think Elspeth and Gideon.
Elspeth and someone. Is Elspeth dated anyone in the Magic verse? I was thinking of Johnny.
I have no idea, but she sure removes a lot of things in the Magic universe. And I think we were thinking Vito for the black bishop.
Yep.
I can't remember who we picked for the white bishops, but yeah, we kind of nerded out on all of that. And we're kind of just curious what your take would be on some of the pieces.
Well, I have not thought about it that deeply.
No worries. It's just something, kind of just shooting the breeze while we were, chatting for a little bit. Got to have something to talk about while you're having a couple of brews, right?
Yeah, no problem. I can see in the chat this would make a great battle chess set. These old computer games called battle chess. They had the kings and queens represented by these characters, basically soldiers. They're all soldiers and actual bishops and sometimes wizards and stuff like that. So sounds like another battle chess 2.0 with Magic characters. I'm surprised they haven't done something like that, like Secret Lair, the chess set or something.
I'd buy it. I buy a lot of shit I shouldn't buy, especially when it's just Magic related stuff. I got like probably 70 anyways, and completely on topic with that. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, being that I watched your show recently, and I'm glad that I have you as a captive audience, because I wanted to ask you when you were streaming about the investors being upset with WotC. And one of the comments you had made, and I'm just going to kind of TLDR here, that you got down and boil it down to the biggest complaint: they're not reinvesting the money back into Magic. They're taking the money, siphoning it off of the WotC products, and buoying up, supporting some of the less financially solvent products that Hasbro puts out. But the natural question that popped in my mind, because you said you could put it into GPs, you could put it back into the Pro Tour, you could put it into these other, where if you had the purse strings, where would you put the money? Where do you see the most need?
Where would I put the money? I would definitely, after observing the explosion of the Pokemon trading card game, of Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, these games are basically founded off of a cartoon show. I don't even know if anyone played the trading card game if it wasn't for these cartoons. You have to make a cartoon. You have to make some sort of show. And it's not like it would even be watched just by kids. If you make an anime or something, it's going to be watched by adults, 100%. We're all geeks and nerds here. So it would be a very successful show, and you could build like entire seasons off of every set that comes out. Like there would be a mini series of like 9 episodes to describe the lore of the set, and it would not even be that expensive, even at $100,000 per episode, or even if it somehow was as expensive at $150,000 per episode. They could easily afford this. This is no problem. They made like $1.3 billion in revenue. I mean, I have no idea what exactly that is in profit, but it's going to be in the hundreds of millions. Next thing, we got to invest in the conventions. So not necessarily Grand Prix. They call it, we had Magic Fests, but you'd put a good chunk of money into prize support for the conventions. And what I would really try to do, they tried to, I understand Commander is a really actually big core part of this game now, much more so than the competitive side. I would like to see some coverage for the competitive Magic, but I'm surprised they did not try it at all, make coverage for Commander. I mean, I understand they support, Wizards does support, like, for example, the command zone. So that's their way of getting Commander Magic in the front of the audiences. But why don't they do any sort of live stuff with Commander? They get instead of a failed thing was the MPL. But they should have had like an MPL of just goofy Commander people that you want to see like every single week battle it out with other people with some wacky crazy deck, and they invite the professor on and they pay Saffron Olive to be part of this league. I would think that's how they should have promoted Magic the Gathering if they were going to invest in an MPL and they were going to make it somewhat like exclusive to a certain people. It can be based on popularity and how well they retain an audience. Like each person would bring in a certain amount of crowd, and they could be able to gauge, who are the popular people on this Commander show. So I would definitely, if I were to invest in giving people like a job that had nothing to do with their results, they just show up and have fun. Like I think they should do something like that if they have all this money to reinvest into the game. And of course, more prize support, like decent prize support at those Magic Fests, because the prizes are pretty trash, always has been. I don't know. That's the only things I could think of off the top of my head, so that everybody overall is happy. I would say I do support them pushing Commander, because if you create a Magic Fest, a lot of those people are going to spill into the competitive tournaments. They'll be like, "Hey, I went for the Commander, but do you want? I'm going to show up for the main event. I'm going to try it out." Because MTG Las Vegas was completely sold out, and it was much bigger than the Command Zone. And I imagine the same thing can happen if we just make Commander as big as possible. Some percentage of those people who got into the game, they'll be like, "Do you know what? I'm not that casual. I like to win. I want to try out my take at competitive Magic." So yeah, I'm all for boosting Commander as much as possible.
I guess to piggyback on part of that, one of the things I had said recently, I don't even remember where, that WotC basically sucks at marketing. And what I gauge that on is it might even been on your show. I think you showed the anime. It was like what, a 2-minute clip or something of anime for Kamigawa. I saw that somewhere. I don't remember where it was, but it was not any place that I wouldn't have seen it if I wasn't already seeking out Magic content. Like I never see them on those commercials on like any kind of streaming that I do on YouTube or any of the other Hulu type channels. I don't see them pop up in my email off on the side with those annoying ads or on my Facebook. You just don't feel their presence if you're not already looking for Magic. For F's sake, they put these stupid things in the pack you already bought.
Right.
What's the point of that? Hey, we're advertising the products you just bought. Buy more? What the? Put it someplace else. Put it in a Yu-Gi-Oh pack. I don't know. It just seems like they're terrible at marketing. They have no footprint if you're not already looking, and depend on, I don't know, maybe the LGS to push it.
I think their route right now is to seek a new audience through the secret layers. That's why they got this Universes Beyond thing, which, by the way, is like, I mean, I don't know how do you guys feel about this Universes Beyond thing, because I know the competitive players, for the most part, they do not like this. They actually absolutely hate the lore. It's so weird and goofy in their actual Magic. So I don't know what from the casual side this looks like, but from the competitive side, like, this is just dumb. I hope, and people have mixed feelings about the Lord of the Rings set coming out. Like, do I have to face Gandalf in an actual tournament? And how nuts is this going to take?
Well, go ahead, Pat. I mean, I've got a whole dissertation lined up for that.
I'm pretty fine with the whole secret layer thing now that they've made the appeasement to the general public that any mechanically unique cards will eventually be refaced as a regular Magic card that you can get in some percentage in a random allotment of a super hard to figure out product, because they don't tell people really straight up where you can get things anymore. It's a whole separate tin hat there. But anyways, I don't mind the secret layers because they're doing some reasonably tasteful crossovers. I didn't care for The Walking Dead, never enjoyed the show. It was cool looking cards. I never watched the heck was it, Stranger Things. Never really cared for it. Cool looking cards. I'm a big Warhammer 40K fan. Never played the game. I'm a lore fanatic for it. Nice looking artwork. I'm looking forward to that. Same thing if they ever make my Mortal Kombat crossover. I don't see why they haven't thought of that yet in Secret Lair. But if they make an MK crossover, I'm getting myself one of them as well. As far as Lord of the Rings coming into a full-fledged set, I don't care. I mean, I watched all the shows, a solid 9 hours of the movies all in a row one day. Oh yeah, I did the whole thing, but I could care if they did it. I could care if they didn't do it too. It's interesting that they're taking every marketing chance they can. Papa Hasbro needs his money. They gotta get it from somebody. They're gonna get some from me, I'm sure.
So, I'm sorry, Matt, go ahead.
For me personally, I have this, I guess it's a little bit of a stigma for like Gatling guns and rocket launchers in a fantasy game. And I'm sure there can be with technology or Magic or whatever. But like if I don't really want to, personally, I don't really want to play like a Gatling gun and like equip it to my creature and then like he's like gunning down all your creatures. It just sounds weird for like a fantasy game. I don't know. It's the same thing when I play D&D. It's the same kind of concept where it's like it's fantasy, it's magical. I don't really want guns. So I thought New Capenna might bridge that line. I thought they might bring in guns, stuff like that. So I hope they don't. But as far as like the Universes Beyond, like just being like secret layers with all different IPs and whatnot, those don't bother me at all. The Warhammer 40K probably will do that, which I'm actually very excited for because of Warhammer being, it's a really fun game, even though it takes forever and it kind of requires a lot. But I think that it's really cool, and I think it makes sense in Magic. So I'm curious to see what they do for weapons and stuff. So I guess we'll see, cross the road when we get there. I'm hesitant.
All right. So I'm just going to address like the Gatling guns and rocket launchers. They've been in Magic since the very beginning. The first rocket launcher is a card called Rocket Launcher from Antiquity. So starting all the way back from the very beginning, you've already had that kind of stuff in D&D. I'm sorry, in Magic. Duh. Secondly, I've been in Magic. Not that this gives me any kind of extra credence from anybody since 1994. I've got a significant chunk for me of reserve list cards, and I would like to see that disappear. I'm about including more people in the game. I think that the ultimate health of the game, the financial stability of the game, relies more on bringing new people into the fold than enfranchising people that were smart enough to keep their cards for decades and decades. To that end, you have the Universes Beyond, which might appeal to a wider audience if they got the marketing right. It doesn't matter if you put every different IP in there if you're just depending on these people to randomly search and dig up, Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K Secret Lair, or My Little Ponies, or I don't care, Play-Doh Fun Factory Secret Lairs, or
Those My Little Pony ones, though, man, those
if they don't do a better job of exposing what they're making to a wider public audience, which is where I feel is good for the company, and it needs to go in that direction. Be more inclusive, bring more people in, right? Rather than just making the ones that are already there feel better about not having pictures on their cards that don't feel in line with what they're used to.
So I think the answer is, I think their marketing strategy is just incredibly focused. So they're actually not trying to throw spaghetti at a wall and to see what sticks. They're like, okay, right now we are going to focus on making a Stranger Things Secret Lair. What was the first one? I can't remember.
What do you mean?
The first Secret Lair with like the zombie one, I think it was.
Oh no, if you're thinking about The Walking Dead, that was not
The Walking Dead.
No, that was not the first. That was the first Universes Beyond.
Yeah, that was the first.
But they had My Little
Beyond.
Ponies before that, and they
had so, but with
there was a Transformers one.
That's right. Anyway, with The Walking Dead, Mark Rosewater said that was above and beyond the most successful Secret Lair that they ever printed, and from there on, they knew they were going to go in this direction. And the only reason it could get that popular is that, like, just some people who happen to be Walking Dead Magic players ended up sharing this information with other Walking Dead fans, so that like the community as a whole would end up learning about these things like more organically instead of like shoving the ads at them. So that's the only way that this can get so popular. Anyway, I believe that is their strategy, so that it's a more organic, very hyper focused type of marketing, and we'll see if it pays off. They're doing it one intellectual property at a time.
Well, considering they've made over 1.3 billion last year, I think they're doing something right.
They are of course remarketing the game very heavily to the people who are invested. They are doing that. You can feel that, right? You can feel they're constantly marketing themselves to themselves, and it works.
Well, it works for a limited time. There's only so deep that well goes when you're burning the candle at both ends and in the middle, and that's why I say you need to project to a wider audience if you want that growth to continue at that kind of rate, because you certainly will see a pullback. I'm going to bet this year you'll see a pullback in their numbers. Yeah,
I think they already anticipate that there's going to be a pullback, just because less people have money in general. Like there was a big surge of
government money.
Yeah, government money. Yeah,
available funds. Yeah.
I wanted to say, money that people have, available to spend on random nonsense, but yeah, they had expendable money, so like they're not going to have it coming around this year, so they can expect that they cannot continue that growth exactly for that year. So, but I'm assuming their long-term strategy is slowly infect other intellectual properties, try to draw on that audience, and let's see how much more Magic can grow from here.
If I'd make one suggestion, I'd tell them contact Rudy and put him in charge of your PR.
Yeah, right.
Let him handle your marketing.
I'm going to yell at you guys between a shelf for 15 seconds. Now listen up here. Yeah. And I think that is a great point though, Bob, that like even on, the platform we're streaming on right here on YouTube, I'm surprised there isn't a 30-second Magic the Gathering advert from time to time, especially when they're coming around to their new releases. It's surprising because it's such an easy way to get people to click on Arena, because they're almost certainly using it to watch an advertisement on a platform that they could utilize to slide over and engage with Magic just a couple of clicks away. So it'd be an easy way to tie that in for sure.
And did I hear they were making I thought they were doing something with Magic, that they had already even picked an actor. I don't know if it was going to be a voice actor, and he was on, maybe he played Superman on Smallville or something. I can't remember, but he was going to play Gideon.
Oh, the Netflix show?
It might have been a Netflix show. I don't know if it was live action or cartoon.
I think it's some sort of cartoon / CG. I don't know exactly what it is like, to be honest, but they're having some sort of Netflix show and they needed a voice actor. So yeah, I didn't pay attention really to this news. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, not exactly rocking them in the commercial and advertisement department. I don't know. Feels like they need some help there.
It's funny.
And I'm not
I watched an interview with the old CEO of Wizards of the Coast, and like the original one, and he said the only thing, like, Wizards had everything. They didn't need Hasbro for anything. They had distribution. They had the connections. They knew how to make the business work. They could scale it. The only thing Hasbro had power over that Wizards of the Coast had no power for and had no connections to was through producing a movie or cartoon. Wizards of the Coast had no connection, no intelligence on making this a reality, and they didn't have the budget for it. But Hasbro did. And for the entire time that Hasbro has owned Wizards of the Coast, they have not made any use of it. And that's why I would even still sit today, with all the money that they're making, make the damn show. Make the show. And maybe this is the beginning, but like it should be done faster and more often. And I just get a sense that they could crank these things out with just making like these basic Pokemon style cartoons or even Yu-Gi-Oh style cartoons.
Did you catch Arcane? Did you see that on Netflix?
I have not seen that yet.
It was incredible. And I think it was only like 6 episodes. But yeah, I mean, if they're doing it for oh god, what's the name of that game? Somebody help me out here.
League of Legends.
Yeah.
Yes, League of Legends. Good God, getting old. But that's a game that put out an absolutely amazing if you want to call it, I don't know, animated show, whatever you want to call it. That was fantastic. And it was a big hit on Netflix. Certainly Magic could do something similar. You've got to know, you got way more lore. You got 30 years worth of lore, books galore coming out about Magic. So yeah, you're right. That is a certainly missed opportunity. And I don't just like bashing on WotC, and I think they've got a stellar lineup this year coming. I'm actually looking forward to the double bubble whammy Masters. I think that's going to be the cat's meow this year. But are you looking forward to any sets? I mean, I guess that would be the only modern set coming out this year. Is Masters considered a modern set even?
I don't care for reprint sets because they don't have any new cards. The reprints are just good for people who want to get into modern, and it's like a little unaffordable right now. And if the deck that they want to play is unaffordable, then reprint sets are always good for that. What's funny though is every reprint set, I don't know a reprint set people were happy with. Maybe Modern Masters 1 was the only set people were happy with. People have just like hated every other reprint set.
Oh, come on. Time Spell Remastered was great.
Double Masters 2? Double Masters actually has the biggest EV of any box out there.
Is it right now or after it was first released? Because I know a lot of these things are very valuable now. They're always loaded with reprints. But like they had some terrible reception when they were like immediately released. I might be wrong with the Time Spiral remaster. That's quite a bit of a different one.
I think that the problem was a sticker shock mostly for Double Masters. People just weren't ready for the $200 price tag for a draft box and $100 for one pack VIPs, which they're now embracing. Just slow to react in the correct way. But it is certainly one of the stellar products they've had in the last 4 or 5 years. And I would consider that a master or a modern product, I guess. But there's no.
Sure.
That's curious. There are no reprints that you're looking for after you said you bailed on a lot of prints.
Well, I mean, for me personally, I'm not priced out of almost anything. So like anything that I need, I just get, and I usually get it immediately.
wow.
I'm like personally, if I
have
either
all the
already
bucks.
own the card or like yeah, that's about it. I either own the card or I don't because it's useless. So if they reprint it, it's no big deal to me. As a competitive player, you need the card. You just need that damn thing. So, and I'm like hyper competitive, so I will find the budget for it. I will sell other cards to make room for this card if I need to. You know that.
Yeah, I was watching that history. So how do you feel about that? Like with the progression from what I guess Modern came from Extended is where its Genesis was, and then it was over extended. I think is where it went to after that. Isn't that what Gavin Verhey said that he got his claim to fame was the overextended or something?
I don't know what overextended is.
Yeah,
I should see Gavin's video about extended.
And then it kind of tripped into Modern, but don't you figure that at some point even Modern's going to have to rotate to some extent, or you're going to fall into the same problem that like Vintage fell into originally?
Well, it will never reach that point because Modern does not have a reserved list. There are no cards part of the reserved list in Modern. That's what makes Modern special. That was the death of Legacy. So yes, like when people were playing Legacy and they thought, oh, this is the greatest format, this is going to last forever, there's a lot of people who already clearly saw the writing on the wall. The reserved list cards kept going up in price, and eventually like it's going to go in the exact same way that it did with Vintage. And it's not quite there. There's still a lot more the card pool is a lot larger. Like there's way more dual lands than there are Black Lotuses out there. So like it still has a community, but like people just can't show up regularly for those things. If you have 2 or 3 big Legacy events globally, sure, you'll get people to show up for them, but like you can't show up every weekend for it. So there are no reserve list cards in Modern. And I know there's never going to be like a rotation because that's what killed Extended. Like Modern is a fixed version of Extended. People have learned like we don't like our cards rotating. It destroys the deck. It destroys the value of the cards. Stop doing this.
All over.
Yeah, you got to start all over. So like that was clear in Standard, and it was like a little bit more muddy in Extended. But after so many years, they realized people love the format more if it just doesn't rotate. Imagine if Commander rotated. It's like, okay, you can't play. You would like that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm all for taking Commander and overlaying like the different formats that you have for Standard on top of Commander, right? So you have Standard Commander, you have Modern Commander, you have Vintage Commander.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
You control the pools of cards so that you have different levels of entry, financially speaking, for new blood. I'd love to see more formats and more diversity, and I think that that a la carte kind of appeal, because Rule Zero sucks. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with Rule Zero. It seems like it's pretty useless.
Well, the problem is it just means something different to everybody at the table, right?
It's open to interpretation.
Too open, and especially when you're not playing with the same people all the time, right? If you're not playing with the same 4, 6, 8, 12 people, then it means something entirely different, and it leads to feel bads all over the place.
Well, that's why that's why I brought up the other time that I would replace Rule Zero with just creating like some sort of pre-assigned rules to the game, like no 2-card combo kills before turn 10. No one's allowed to attack each other until turn 5 or something like that. Where you can play any deck you want, but these rules will govern the game and govern the behavior of the game. And because it's in my opinion, it sounds like a more improved version of Rule Zero.
And I definitely personally have seen some, mini rotation with as cards become popular from new sets. I just slid the Reality Chip and Alliance Sash into a deck. They just felt as though they'd be great little fits. So I personally do see a little bit of addition, and I like that there's not much subtraction to it. I don't have to start all over. When I get my sliver deck to a certain point, that's pretty much where it's going to sit at for quite a while. But I don't have to keep buying products all the time. I can just get a couple of singles. It's fun to rip wrappers though. I'm almost a little surprised, Nikachu, that you don't have something like that going on, where you try and set your own personal records for best collector's pack or something.
No, I don't do anything like that.
Competitive pack opening. Let's go. Pull a pack out. Let's do it.
Well, I'm not an unboxer, so it's like I'm not gonna try to speed run this thing.
Yeah.
But you know, MTG Gaming Bob, maybe you should make your own commander format. I mean, I know that they have Brawl. That's the closest thing to like maybe a standard, commander.
Actually, you know, I something that Matt and I have done, and he didn't mention this. I don't think it necessarily even needs to be commander, right? I love the multiplayer format, and one of the things that we did, and I'll shout out to Bobby Z, and the crew from Jake and Joel or Magic. I don't remember what set it was. I don't know if it was Strixhaven or Modern Horizons 2. We got on Spell Table. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I know what Spell Table is. Yeah,
and we all had pre-release kits. And we did a 4-player free-for-all pre-release kit live on Spell Table. Now, granted, there's a lot of not so great entertainment value of, you know, opening the packs and, you know, building your decks live, but that was an amazing. I don't know if that's be considered a format, but it was certainly felt like a new format. The pre-release multiplayer FFA Spell Table format. So I would like to see that become more of a thing. That was a ton of fun. It made the power levels kind of commensurate across the board. I love the draft. And you don't really do that, do you? Modern doesn't really have a draft, or I guess there could be a cube, those wonder cubes that they build, but you just don't see it much.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you want to try to mimic the modern format in a cube, they just build a cube around it. Otherwise, I mean, no, that's why modern is a constructed format, and limited are the limited formats.
But Commander has cubes. We built a Commander cube, but you know, I enjoy that. I don't know, sort of chaotic nature of it. That I have no idea what I'm going to play. But yeah, I mean, we've even talked about that, like a chaos commander, to come up with a way that you just have a completely chaotic deck that even you don't really know what's in your deck, and somehow figure out how to make that work. And you're just flying by the seat of your pants, playing the cards the best that you can. Not even knowing
what you do is you do commander draft, you know, right? You do commander draft, but then you all pass your decks to the left and then play whatever gets passed to you, you know?
Well, then I would make just like the worst deck ever and pass it to the left.
Yeah, but everybody would make the worst deck ever. So everybody would be.
That would be amazing.
Oh, no.
I'm going to play my 2/2 basic creature for 6.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Just build a deck with no lands and give it to them.
Horrible.
It's all draw cards, nothing else, but you just hold deck of draw cards and you draw yourself out.
That's the rule zero. We all agree we're going to build the best one, and nobody does. That's the epitome of, you know, a commander game, especially in draft format right there. Yeah.
So there's no format that you would like to see come to life or revitalized, Nikachu?
It would be nice to see Legacy to be like playable, or like more playable in paper, but then that's more or less impossible. I mean, outside of maybe banning all the reserve list cards, so then the format is sustainable by Wizards of the Coast. They can just reprint, and it is in Wizards of the Coast's best interest to reprint all the expensive cards. So I don't fear that Modern is going to reach insane vintage prices, because if any cards get too expensive, they will reprint them. It's easy money. Just the next Double Masters or Modern Masters, whatever, doesn't matter. They'll reprint all the expensive cards, and they'll make big bucks and keep those prices in check so that people still have access to the format. But then, you know, moving all the way around, the reason Extended did die for the most part was, and it could not have sustained growth, is because every single time they rotate, it just killed off so many people. If you'd hear, I had infinite stories of people who just hated the realization that their standard cards were getting rotated. Like, oh, Magic is a great game. Oh, everyone's playing standard. Okay, I'm going to buy into a standard deck. And then rotation happens, and they realize, oh, I can't play with any of these cards anymore? Well, what are they worth? What, can I sell them for anything? Oh, they're worthless now? It's a huge burner for people when they figure that out. And so that inhibits people from getting into extended because they know, well, if I'm not playing it constantly, cards are all going to become worthless. And then when rotation comes around, I got to try to sell them all, and it becomes a game of trying to get the most value out of your cards before they get rotated. So most
guess
people
that's
like
one of the
non-rotating
reasons,
formats.
That's probably one of the reasons why Commander does so well, is because of how stable it is as a format.
Yes. Imagine
Well-
all the decks you built. You have like many of you have like 20, 40 decks out there. And then all of a sudden rotation would have had to happen. You have to go through all your decks to find out which cards are still legal and update the rest. No, it's just easy. You put them away and it's good for forever.
Now, one of the things that's all right. So, like, even in Commander, they were talking about it even on the Command Zone, probably the premier Commander channel out there on YouTube, and they were talking about power creep and that. And I guess you're going to run into the same thing, a la Urza Saga, Ragavan, all these things that come out. That it feels like you're approaching some sort of singularity, that you're losing parity with cards out there, and the only solution that they seem to come up with, these hyper value cards that are coming out year after year, and in order to sell them, they have to keep sort of one-upping themselves. So you're going to get to this point where there's just this extremely narrow group of cards that you're going to be able to play in Modern, right? That you can only get so many. What is everything going to get 0 casting cost at some point, and it does 5 things, and there's only so far that they can go, that you're just whittling down this. You're getting to the singularity, like I said, of cards that are playable, like Reality Chip, great card. Do you think you're ever going to play that in Modern?
It is seeing play in one deck. It is seeing play in Hammer Time. And I don't know exactly why. It can be fetched. I think it's an equipment, right? So it can be fetched with Stoneforge Mystic. But so it technically does see play. I don't even know if it's good. But the solution in Modern is that they ban cards, and we do ban cards if they're like too frequent, too obnoxious, too powerful. Something that we have a little bit more liberal in Modern than you guys have in Commander is if the card is too good, they ban it and bring the power level within a range that is more comfortable with the overall range of cards. But yeah, so that's what we got.
Oh, they ban stuff in Commander. Like Primeval Titan, for instance, he's banned in Commander.
How often they ban something? I don't know. We got bannings almost every single year. This is the first year that they didn't ban something in January and February.
There was a few cards like Turgid that was on the potential chopping block to be banned, but they deemed it not bannable enough. Same thing with like Dockside Extortionist and Ragavan, those kind of cards. They were thinking it or considering it, mainly Dockside, because Dockside in CEDH is very valuable.
They mostly just waved their finger a bunch and said, "Hey, watch it, guys. We're looking at you."
Yeah.
Well,
I imagine that they really just should make a competitive Commander ban list, like wipe out a ton of the obnoxious cards, but you still have the regular casual Commander if you want to play it. But then some play groups can be like, hey, we're playing competitive Commander because, hey, we got some pretty tuned decks and we're not going to be playing with the obnoxious cards anymore. So you can't ramp out on turn 2 your 6 or 7 mana Commander, which seems stupid to me that you can like make an amount of mana in order to make that happen. So to make Commander more like, hey, turn 1, play a land, go. It's
ooh, that's rare.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Even in not competitive, it's usually if you don't have 5 or 6 mana by turn 4, you're probably behind.
Yeah, so they would have to ban like Soul Ring, Mana Vault, Mana Crypt. These things obviously give you a huge advantage. Mana advantage is still very, very big, especially in a 4-player Commander game. If you can get ahead on mana and do something obscene before anyone else can get their game off the ground, because ideally you win before anyone can even do anything, because otherwise then you're up against a bunch of people. These are probably the first things that have to go. But I mean, I wouldn't say you have to ban these cards in regular casual Commander, because there's certainly a lot of people who want to do this goofy stuff. It's like, we could call casual Commander the vintage of Commander, and then a more banned list is a more like for the more competitive players that want to tune their decks and not play sort of like lottery like games, like whoever got the best hand wins. There should be a ban list for those. I don't know what the ban list looks like, but I imagine all the fast mana has to just disappear.
Well,
how fast is the Modern format? I've never played. Is it quick?
It's not that quick anymore, thanks to the elementals that they printed. So things like Fury, Solitude, Subtlety slow the format down by a lot. There's a lot of interaction now, and for free. That's very important. It got somewhat fast leading up to 2019. But then after Modern Horizons 1 and the printing of Force and Negation, that helped slow things down a lot. So no decks went some nuts combo turn 2, turn 3 anymore, because there were combo decks that could do that, but they were now they're like really glass cannon. If you're up against a Force Negation deck, you dead. You dead. You're gonna take a gamble trying to go for it. But now it's really solid. I would say Modern is super solidly turn 4, 5, 6. It's pretty slow. It's gonna take it. The games are gonna go long. They're really slow and grindy, which in my opinion makes Modern very, very good right now. Cards are super powerful, but it's no one's getting blown out of the water.
Okay.
You'd like Modern, Matt.
I think so. It sounds interesting.
Matt, well, I know that you play a little bit of Flesh and Blood, actually. Now, I've never actually played the game. I don't think I've seen it played in person either. How long does a game of Flesh and Blood go?
Surprisingly, it's a lot slower than Magic. Like
Yeah.
I mean, there are games where you can cycle through your entire deck and get back to the cards that you pitched earlier on. So I mean, I don't know like I don't know as far as number of turns, but I know that whenever I play Flesh and Blood, it typically lasts at bare minimum, I don't know, 7 to 10 turns at least. I mean, I haven't played in a competitive format. I've only played, at the kitchen table with my buddies, and we're new to the game, so maybe we might not be playing the best. But even when I watch some of the, YouTubes of it, it didn't seem like it was super quick. Like there was very rarely ever like even less than turn 5. Like I can't imagine, just because unlike Magic, there is no mana screw. There's a lot of variants that Flesh and Blood takes away, that you always have something. You can almost always block some damage. You can almost always play a spell. Actually, you can always play a spell. You can almost always block. So there's that kind of drags the game out a little bit longer because there's more interactions between.
Well, maybe we'll have to get your email over to Nikachu, get you and him into competitive gaming. They do some actual tournaments, like actual Flesh and Blood in person competitive stuff for the game, don't they?
Yeah, this year actually they're doing $1 million pro tour basically. They have $1 million in prize money for this next upcoming year for tournaments for Flesh and Blood. And the reason why the game is called Flesh and Blood is they really want you to be in person. They don't want to do anything digital. They want you to just go interact with people, because that's kind of how TCGs were designed. Like they were designed to really be played in person and interact with your opponent. And actually, interesting, Nikachu, do you play Flesh and Blood? It's kind of a one-on-one type game where I felt like it's very competitive, one-on-one, mano-y-mano.
I don't, because my hands are full of games. It's like the same reason
enough.
why I'm not gonna. I declined going to the D&D night that my friends offered to me. But like Flesh and Blood looks like a fantastic game, and they have the advantage of maybe fixing Wizards of the Coast mistakes. And they're being very innovative. I have many friends who are getting into Flesh and Blood, and from what they're telling me, the creator is being very adaptive, and they've got a lot of unique ideas regarding how they band cards based on like how well a deck is doing. And I think it's a bit weird though, them not approaching digital Magic. That's going to that's going to favor teams that are really, really strong. Because that was the old days of Magic, where like John Finkel, Kai Buddha, and like a lot of these old timers, they were in teams. They were like pro Magic teams, and they had a huge edge on the competition because no one else could play test against anyone as good as them. So once they get to a tournament, they would have like this really killer, awesome deck that no one ever heard of or saw, and just annihilate everybody, and they'd be really well play tested. But it was when Magic the Gathering Online came out that all of a sudden anyone around the world had access to really good quality competition, and the metagame evolved online. And then like now the metagame starts online, it evolves online, and then pushes its way to paper. It's not the other way around. So
Right.
it's going to be interesting how Flesh and Blood evolves in this way, because regular people can't play test against good players. So it's going to be like, if you're a new player to Flesh and Blood, you just have your other friends who are new. This is going to be like a really low quality playtesting group, and you're always going to be behind the people who are already very, very good at the game.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they need to do something bare minimum like Spell Table. And I think there are websites where you can digitally play test, kind of like a Moxfield situation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fairly certain there is those, and the Discord that I joined, there's a lot of people that you can make your own group now. Luckily, with digital age, we can really do whatever we want.
Yep.
But I think you're right. I think that something that they officially push out would be really nice just to have as for playtesting and really kind of change the format or warp the meta rather.
I would, if Flesh and Blood does not get sold, I would make a really good bet that this game will be bigger than Magic in 20 years if they don't sell it, because they are not under the pressure of like a corporate entity of shareholders. They will do what is best for the game, and it looks like this is what the creator is doing. I think it's so smart how they're executing this game, the way they're marketing it. Even right now, they're pushing hard like coverage and in their events, and they really care about the play experience of the players. And there was a card that was busted in like 2 days, and they just banned it on the spot. They didn't wait. It was like, okay, we screwed up. All right, we screwed up. We're just banning this thing. Whereas in Wizards of the Coast, they will just let the card sit in the card. Like so long as people keep showing up to the tournament, they will not ban the card. It's as simple as that.
They banned Duskblade before it even came out.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Like Wizards of the Coast will never do this unless the tournaments will just straight up not fill up. This is what happened with Oko to get it banned. Like tournament, there would be like a big open event and 2 people were registered, and they're like, okay, we're gonna ban Oko, and that was only for standard, and it took them forever to ban it in all the other formats. But like they're more nimble with this stuff. They're putting the player experience first.
You can certainly see that in some of their new marketing, the way that they're physically producing the packs. With the new Everfest that just came out, they've got what's practically a paper wrapper for the booster packs themselves. So you can rip them open just sideways instead of tearing open down the glue seal. You can just rip it open like it's just right across the side of it. Just bang like that. It's supposedly biodegradable too, so you don't have a whole wad of wrappers that you feel terrible about putting in your garbage and they sit in a landfill because they're all aluminized plastic. No, you get something that can just get recycled or burn
and they plan to have a multiplayer format, an official one. They do have like a somewhat pseudo multiplayer. You can actually play Flesh and Blood multiplayer, but they plan to have something, I guess, akin to the players versus something. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be quite interesting.
And do you think, Matt, that you could use the spell table interface, just not use the spell table interface and just use the service to be able to play?
I mean, it's free to play. You only need a Wizards of the Coast account to log in, and all it is, I mean, you could just use Discord. There's no reason to really use spell table. If you're not using it for the functionality, you could just go on Discord and everybody just uses their camera for that. You don't really need to use spell table for that.
I think Nikachu's point, though, was that you just don't have access to the caliber of pool of players that you have, that you're going to have to face when you actually get to the tournaments if there's money on the line, and it wouldn't behoove them to train the rest of the field.
Yeah, those players wouldn't be part of that environment, but maybe they would. I don't know.
So I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know. Money changes things an awful lot. Just look at Magic over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been around Magic a long time, and it never felt like the stock market before, but it does now. Even I'm buying. I got cases of Magic just sitting on the shelf waiting to appreciate like bottles of wine. And, money has certainly changed. I would say that is the biggest change in Magic over the last 3 years, is the money aspect of it, the speculating, the buying sealed and storing it, the ridiculous spiking in card prices that have just meandered for 25 years and then all of a sudden hit this massive 500% spike. And I don't know, it's a very different thing, very different animal than it once was. For Nikachu, it's a game. I wish I could get that across to most of the viewers, and I try all the time, that it's a game and it should be fun. For you, it should be competitive if that's how you have fun, and you should be around other competitive people. But it feels like there's this new ogre involved that's gobbling up cards that people need to play, like the dual lands. That is crippling to so many formats in Magic for the reserve list to not have dual lands, legit dual lands, available to the mass public. You need them. Beyond all that, I'm just saying that it certainly feels like it's morphing into something way more than just a game at this point.
But I mean, that's the game we signed up to, isn't it? Like, you're saying this is a new problem. This has been a classic problem since Magic started. I mean, the reserve list came into existence. All the cards skyrocketed in price, and they're like, oh, we got to reprint these things. So they reprinted them, and they over-reprinted them. The prices collapsed. So it has been since day one a collectible card game, or a collectible trading card game. And so an economy is actually an aspect of this game, and the good cards go up in value. Because if all the cards were worthless, there'd actually be no economy backing up this game. We were talking about, like, where do we buy our Magic cards? And I actually strongly believe the economy is why we have a community whatsoever. Because if TCG's not making money, if my local game store's not making money, if eBay's not making money, if TCG Player, Channel Fireball, Star City Games, they ain't making money. Well, they're not hosting tournaments either. Not hosting tournaments, and then we not have Magic Fest. We don't have the Command Zone that you can go play in. You don't have Friday Night Magic to attend. You don't have that pre-release. So the economy is a very strong portion of this game. Because if the cards were worthless, like so many other board games are, the pieces, the aspect of it are worthless, and there's no economy around it, then stores have trouble making money. If the stores don't make money, then they're not going to host the events. If they don't host events, then you don't meet people at those events. So it's a classic problem. It's a classic problem that we have to live. In an overall, Magic it's an elitist game for the most part. Like, it's economically not equal.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not about cards not having value, but let's take Sol Ring. Let's take Birds of Paradise. Let's take Flesh and Blood Cold Foils. There are other ways to make money, a la serialized Viscera Seer, Neon Pink, who gives a shit, whatever. The Japanese guy in pink, purple, green, I don't care. There are ways to make cards valuable without eliminating access to those cards, right? And if you reprint the Babe Ruth rookie card, it's not going to make the original Babe Ruth worth less. The alphas, the betas, those original rare cards in good shape are always going to have value. And if you don't reprint those art, then fine. Make a reserve list art, for art. Fine. Make the cards have value, but don't hurt the game for the sake of having value in cards by not reprinting them so that people don't have access to formats.
Well, I guess the deal in this case, because you're alluding to the reserved list, this is just like a first mover disadvantage of Magic the Gathering. So remember, Magic was the first one that tried this. They had absolutely no idea that they could preserve the value of cards with, like, specialty cards. Because back then, they did play around with value. If they wanted to make a garbage reprint, they made it in white border. Up to a point, like, I think past 7th edition, they got rid of white bordered cards. Or I don't know when they stopped, maybe 8th edition? Because people just found that, like, they didn't like white border cards. They didn't like it. So now, after so much time has passed, and they see what they've done with Pokemon, what they've done with Yu-Gi-Oh, and especially with Flesh and Blood, this reserve list aspect to the game is stupid. It's bad. It was we can't put it as it was a mistake, because it was the best idea they had at the time to preserve the quality of the game. Because otherwise, it could have died as a fad, like Pogs or Marbles or any other silly,
or Wyvern. Yeah.
Yeah, it had that danger, it had a real danger. So they did with the best that they could at the time, being the first card game. And now we know, after so many years, do you know what? There are better ways of making cards valuable to collectors while still making them
available,
accessible. Like, I'm saying this with air quotes. What's accessible to you is not accessible to someone else, because everyone has a different willingness to pay. People don't realize this. Like, there are people out there, a lot of people, they're not comfortable spending $5 on a piece of cardboard. Like a lot of us, we don't blink. Like $5 for this card, hey, it's totally worth it. A lot of people are not comfortable with that. Like their deck is
Oh
full
yeah,
of $5
yeah,
cards. Their willingness to pay is 25 cents, and that's why
yep,
we have this
yep.
reserve list discussion, because all of a sudden the dual land was $50. That was at someone's willingness to pay, and now it's $100. It's like, oh, I can't afford this anymore. Down with the reserve list. But the person whose willingness to pay is $100, they're like, this is okay. This is fine. I can still afford it. Then it goes to $200. Oh, I can't afford this anymore. Get rid of the reserve list. Then the people who could spend $200 on the card, they don't mind. But then it goes to $500. Now, oh, we got to get rid of the reserve list. So it slowly, as it becomes less and less accessible to people's willingness to pay, we continue to get outraged by the reserve list. So it's a weird thing. What do we want to consider accessible? It's like a weird line to draw, because perfectly accessible is proxies. That's $0.
That's what I've gotten into recently.
I agree with that. But that's, that again tells somebody, okay, you can play this game, but only in the corner with your friends and the little kids. You get to sit at the kids' table, right? You can't play with the adults. Secondly, there's a big difference between willingness to pay and ability to pay. At some point, the cards get beyond. It goes from, let's say, at $100. I don't know where the lines are. Just like
we'll say a willingness to pay is ability to pay.
Like Black Lotus. Most people cannot afford a Black Lotus. It's not that they're not willing to. They just literally don't have $25,000 to throw down on a card. And that's what you're getting into, is here's a game. And it's not that they don't have the willingness to pay. Like there's a difference between saying, I'm willing to buy this really great Ragavan at $20, but I'm not willing to buy it at $100, right? That's a willingness to pay. They still have that $100 and they have to make more choices. But once you start getting into that $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, $25,000, $50,000 cards, that's no longer a willingness to pay. You just don't have the ability, and you in very rarefied air of people that even have the money to buy those kind of cards to play in those formats.
No, but it's a moot point, isn't it? Like if your willingness to pay wasn't above $25, then what does it matter if it hits 25,000?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I kind of see your train of thought there in my pod. So we started out, all getting back into Magic more or less at the same time. That's kind of how it was. A couple of guys, late 20s, early 30s, all sort of getting back in after a number of years have gone by. And at first it was, oh, hey, I could spend $5 on a pack of cards. Okay, nice. I got a couple of good things out of it. Oh, I could spend, $29.99 for this bundle down at Walmart. That's a little bit of a splurge, but okay, cool. I get a couple of packs. $100 for a whole box of cards? Yeah, sure. I guess I could swing that. And then you start building commander decks. Oh, man, I spent $20 to buy 5 cards. Now you're spending $20 to buy a card. Yeah, definitely. There's a progression there. And I think Magic kind of feeds that, WotC themselves, especially with what they're doing for a product line now. It used to be, what, $90 to get a box, a booster box. Now it's getting a little bit more expensive and a little bit more expensive. We're seeing now Nuka Pennas going for, I think, what was it, Bob? 125?
Well, I'm going to actually have to recant that. I found a couple places that were advertising selling them for 108. So I don't know what the actual increase is, but there's decidedly an increase. I keep a pretty close tab on that, but it was Prodigy Games was the first one I saw for the pre-sale at $120 a box, when the box they had right next to it was I think it was Kamigawa for like 98 or 99 bucks. I can't remember what it was that I showed up on there, and it wasn't on sale. So there was clearly some sort of difference between the two sets, because Prodigy Games was advertising the sale for the pre-sale for the Kamigawa for like 98 or 100 bucks. It wasn't a drastic difference. It didn't catch my attention, but it did for Nuka Pennas. So clearly there's something in the works here for price hikes coming. I don't know if it was the 15%. Matt and I discussed way last year sometime. We had talked about that. We covered their press release. I don't know if you remember that, Matt. When they said coming third, fourth quarter with 15% or something. I never saw it, but I'm clearly seeing it now for at least Nuka Penna. So expect that really soon. Sorry, that was a
Now,
long
one of the things I've got to say I'm pretty excited now that we're talking about Nuka Penna a little bit is that they're doing a Triome cycle, as they're calling it. So I was a huge fan of Ikoria for a number of reasons, art being one of the biggest. And now that they're teasing a whole lot of this Art Deco, neo-noir, smoky streets, huge fan of that artwork. I think this is going to be a really banger of a cycle. Nikachu, what are you thinking about this one coming up here? Are you gonna feature any of that in your decks if they've got good stuff, or are you gonna maybe open some of it finally?
Well, I'm definitely not going to open any of this stuff, but like, it's still, I don't open stuff. It feels like I'm wasting my money because I already know odds are against me.
Yeah.
Rarely will there be more stuff value in the pack than before it's opened. But so far not excited. They didn't show that much. They showed the triomes that were what we're calling the triomes. They didn't call them the triomes. Yeah. They actually made it really lore specific. Some people on Twitter were actually complaining about that. The triomes were fine because who cares what a triome is? But now these are like, what are they called? Like the names are
they're
so
like hideaways. They're like specialty names.
Yeah,
it's like Xander's office or something.
Yeah, they are very narrow and very specific to this plane. So
they sound legendary, right?
Yeah, actually,
because they're specifically named something which normally would indicate legendary, but then they're not. It's very strange.
Actually, what really kind of burnt my britches on that is that it's just dumb. It was dumb not to call it a triome for the pure and simple fact that people are out there searching on websites. That's a real thing. And when you try to look into a cycle of lands and you just put in Triome, oh, look, TCG player brought up all effing 10 of them. Right now you have to know Larry's Lunchbox and Gideon's Gardens and, Fabergé's Follies or whatever that they're calling these damn things. I don't know what they're called, but now you have to know the name to even find them to search for them rather than doing something practical like calling them call them triads then. Fine. You want to keep it gangster theme? You had triomes in the Ikoria jungle thing. You got triads in the gangster thing. Call them something consistent, but instead they're 5 completely, vastly different names. And that was just dumb. I think for practicality's sake, it was just a dumb decision.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
So it seems as though they're calling them streets. I'm going to pull up a better one here.
Streets of Nuka Penna. That makes thematic sense, I suppose.
If they put street on it, I would have been fine with that. But they didn't. They're all 5 different names. There's nothing you can Google on them. It's just. I'll bet you if you Googled like Capenna triomes, these would come up.
That's exactly how I got to this. Yeah.
But it won't be when you go to buy them on a site that you have to go search for them on a site.
Yeah, so they're calling it Jetmir's Garden, Raffine's Tower, Spara's Headquarters, Xander's Lounge, Ziatora's Proving Ground. And it doesn't say street anywhere on these cards.
No. Does Modern use triomes?
Yeah, they do actually. They love them because you can just fetch them out.
Right.
Like you just need one in your deck, really. And a lot of people are really happy about these lands because that's going to be they're going to see play. Even just as a one of, they're going to see play. And some people think that it might even get abused with Ren and 6 now that there's like a solid Jund one.
Yeah, I love Ren and 6.
Do you think that this land cycle is going to revitalize some decks that might not have been getting a decent amount of play?
Nah.
There's already enough lands.
Incredibly good in Modern. We have great mana. This is just making mana like win more basically.
I think it'll have a bigger impact on EDH. There's a lot more 3-color EDH decks that need their triome.
And especially if you're running a 4-color deck, this right here is definitely going to just be able to open up a lot more playability.
But think about the rainbow decks. I mean, they just got they doubled up their land.
Right. My Atraxa deck. Oof.
Yeah, exactly. 5-color slivers just got a whole lot more fun.
Yeah.
So I can't wait till they come up. I think is there a 2-color cycling fetchable land yet?
Yes.
I know there's some cycling lands, but I don't think it's complete, right? I don't think that's a complete cycle. Is that called the bicycle lands?
I don't know.
Maybe
I
that's
don't
what
play
they call
these
them, like
cards
bicycle
because they
lands.
come into play
Yeah.
tapped, which makes them
Right.
useless.
Well, Triumph's coming to play tapped.
That's true.
They
Well,
do.
I find it
Yeah.
useless. Yeah,
Don't you play with
they're
Triumph?
playable.
I think I've
I
seen
guess the
Triumphs
deal
in
is
your
they only
deck.
play one Triome.
But
Have
I'm
any
just
of you
saying.
that plays the Triumphs, have you ever cycled them? I have never, ever.
Yes.
I have not seen a single
I've-
time cycled the Triumph.
Oh yeah,
I've cycled it a few
Yep.
times.
Really?
I sure do.
I
So
always
I
fetch them, and
play
then they're just on the field, and I never get a chance to cycle them.
yeah, I play Gift of Estates reasonably often, which is a wonderful card. I think it's super underrated. 1 and a white. If any opponent has more lands than you can search your deck for up to 3 planes. And since it doesn't say basic, you can get basic planes and some triomes as long as they say planes on it. So
Okay.
you grab those out, and then you can just cycle them and get yourself there a little bit of weird. If you have overflow mana, you can get that for a different card draw.
Well, that and you're thinning out your deck too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So no, I think they're great lands. I mean, clearly they're not. They're not fetch or shocks. Those are better lands clearly, but these are some of the best lands we've seen in years for new lands for sure.
Those names, though.
You
Oh,
just
God, I hate
reminded
the
me
names. Don't
that
get me started.
you
Gonna
just
need a blood
reminded me
pressure pill.
I made a bad prediction about triomes because those dual lands that were fetchable that cycled, the cycling cost 2 and they saw no play in modern. 0, nothing, zip. But these triomes immediately saw play. It was so weird. Well,
I
whatever.
wonder why that is.
But I think you're doing that for what, like prismatic ending, right? That's what the main reason you
Well,
were
that was
putting them in?
before. I mean, Prismatic Ending came after the Triomes in Ikoria, so we played with the Triomes for at least a year. It was, well, whatever. They saw more play. Having a three color land is more valuable than a dual land, because I guess we already have a bunch of dual lands.
Honestly, the dual lands I would like to see them come up with. I think they were chicken shit to not put basic land types on the commander lands. I'd like to see that that would honestly get rid of the need to reprint the OG dual lands, at least for commander players, which is what 80% of the audience out there. I would say probably close to that. 80% of all Magic players are generally commander players.
Maybe higher.
You're muted.
Maybe like 95%.
You're muted.
Yeah.
You're muted, Pat.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. My prediction for the Commander Legends 2 Baldur's Gate. Okay, we'll call it Commander's Passage, and it says land, but all of them down at the bottom, so you can search for it, and it does exactly what Command Tower does, except it's all 5. Commander's Passage, or Commander's Broken Ring, and it's just broken into 5 pieces, so you can tap for any of them. But
I like
you can only do
Commander's
it once or some
Lunchbox.
shit. Yeah.
Commander's potato salad. Just name it something really
Yeah.
stupid.
Right.
We are starting to run a little long. I don't want to hold Nikachu up. I feel bad, like we've kept you here way longer than we promised you. But love having you on.
I didn't even know you promised me anything. It's like a Saturday evening,
good.
so
We
whatever.
didn't promise anything. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Even if he had a heart out, he said he's good. So, but I do have a
fantastic.
heart out in the next, 20, 30 minutes. So,
Not me. I'll stay here all night. If you keep talking Nikachu, I'll keep talking back at you about.
yeah,
my
I mean,
thing.
I don't have to. I could just drop out and you guys can keep going if you want.
Well, I'll probably head out when Matt heads out, but like I'm good for another 20 minutes easily.
Perfect. One of the questions I also had, I don't even know where we are for our outline. I think we've completely gone
We've
way out
nailed
of
a lot
order
of
from
it.
that thing. But what do you recommend for somebody who is not in Modern that wants to get started in Modern? Where do you begin to start to get into Modern?
Yeah,
Okay, it
sell
depends
Modern
how-
for me.
Okay, how much money do you have? Are you willing to spend like $1,000, $1,500 on a deck?
Sure.
Yeah, I was looking at this Eldrazi Tron earlier. Apparently, this is not a cheap endeavor. If I want to ruin my friends' days with colorless creatures, they showed like price lists on Matt Caster Mage. He does this market mover thing, and he'll show where some of these cards are being featured in certain decks, and he'll show the price list. And it's like, yeah, man, you could choose. Some of these are $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 for a single deck.
What? 9,000? You mean 900?
No, up to 1,000.
Oh, up to 1,000. Oh yeah. Like
Yeah, yeah.
modern decks go way over 1,000. I mean, that's no
Most of
problem.
my Commander's decks are
We're
1,000.
approaching $2,000 now for modern decks. It's getting really stupid. But the point is, if you have enough money, I would just suggest pick one of the top tier 1 decks. That would be the easiest way to get into the format. They're currently very powerful. I might even recommend one that is pretty resilient to getting banned. Like there are some decks out there that, you know, if a card gets banned, it's going to go down a huge chunk in power level. But whereas there are some other decks that if a card gets banned, whatever, they're just going to replace it with another card of similar power level. And it's not going to be that big of a deal. Just like how they banned Ragavan in Legacy, and they just replaced it with Delver, and the deck is just as good as it was before. So I would highly recommend, because that would be the easiest way to get into the format. You'd be winning immediately. You've got a well-tuned, very strong, powerful deck that you imagine is probably going to be still very good for the next 2 years, and hopefully get some upgrades over time that can still be competent within stay competitive with the modern metagame. But let's say you don't have so much money, then hopefully you're not picky with what you like to play. There are some good options out there. Like you can play Burn. Burn is a very affordable deck. Around it can be $300, $500, depending on how you want to build it.
Yeah.
And it's also a very competent deck right now. It's pretty good, but sometimes it's not always good. If the metagame shifts in a way, it's a very, I call it a caveman deck, because it's got like only one plan for the most part, and that is shoot your opponent's face with burn spells. I mean, it can do other stuff than that. The burn players will say, "Oh, it's more complicated than that." No, it's not.
No, it's not. I like that.
For the most part, you're burning your opponent's face, or you can kill creatures with it. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do, but compared to other decks, it's not nearly as complex. The problem is the greatest thing about Modern is that there will be a deck that you will like. Like there's a deck for everybody in Modern, and there will be a competent deck for you. Something that gears to your play style out there in Modern. But on a budget, there isn't. Like you just can't do it. You can make a pretty good budget Death and Taxes deck. You can make a pretty good budget Burn deck. What else can you make on a budget? Like a blue-red Prowess deck, you can make pretty good on a budget if you have a budget mana base. So budget will prevent you from playing what you want, but if you have no budget, I would say jump in with the tier 1 deck. If you don't, just get in with a budget deck. And if you can't stand that, I don't know
Modern
what
might
to
not
do
be
for you.
Don't eat at that restaurant.
Save up for Modern.
Yeah.
Sell your commander cards. Come on, sell one of your commander decks. You know you got the money in there. You got the money.
Yeah, I was gonna say the majority of my Commander decks are over 1,000. So
yeah, exactly. Just sell one of them if you want to enjoy Modern. Oh yeah, you can play Merfolk as well. But Merfolk is now like in settled low tier 2 sort of a deck.
how rampant is control? Like how the meta? If you were to put like a pizza pie, how much of the meta is control? Because for some reason you can kill my creatures all day long, and I'll be like, cool. But for counter spells, for some reason, for me, I just hate them.
Well,
I hate playing them. I hate playing
counter
them.
spells are not so popular anyway, so you don't have to fear that. I would say your greatest fear is just like tons of removal. That would be your greatest fear.
Well, then that's okay then.
There is control that has like Archmage's Charm, Counterspell. I think that's it. That's all they use right now, because they're using Force Negation. It depends on the deck that they'll want to either have that or bring that in or keep that post board. But I think it's a little bit more Counterspell light. It's mostly, I think the decks are mostly bringing Counterspells to fight against other Counterspell decks. Like Mystical Dispute is a very popular Counterspell in the sideboard, just to deal with other Counterspell decks like Force and Negation. And then people bring in more Force and Negations for the Force and Negation Mystical Dispute decks. So it's basically Counterspell decks trying to fight other Counterspell decks. But Counterspells are somewhat unreliable in Modern, because a lot of cards can be cast for free or for very little mana. So Counterspells are very clunky. Archmage's Charm is pretty popular because it's a counterspell, but you can steal 1-drop, so it interacts with Dragon Rage Channeler, Ragavan, Death Shadow, Aether Vial. You know, you can steal quite a few things. And then apparently it's also really useful because for card advantage. Card advantage is sort of a big deal in Modern. You can easily run out of cards. I don't know, in Commander, you guys don't do anything for a long time, and then you have this one card that refills all your hands, or someone plays a wheel, and I've got a full new 7 cards all of a sudden.
No, card advantage is definitely huge in Commander. Definitely one of the tenets of it.
It's probably
Yes.
less as important though.
Then modern, yeah,
It's
probably.
Yeah,
like
than modern.
it's just that I think your card advantage, once you pull off your card advantage card, you're just a million cards in your hand, whereas in modern it needs to be more subtle, more incremental, like they do with Archmage's Charm. So it's got those modes, but it's also a counterspell on top of it. But counterspells are not like they're okay, but they're not the be and end all. If you're up against control, it's gonna be removal like crazy. And planeswalkers. Removal and
I
planeswalkers.
play an Atraxa deck, so I know all about planeswalkers. That deck runs like 25 planeswalkers.
I noticed in your Merfolk deck, there's been kind of an evolution over the past several weeks here that I don't see you really playing Solitude anymore. Did you remove that entirely from your deck? Additionally, I saw you put in. It seemed like about the time that you brought in Urza Saga, that you didn't seem sold on, but now you do. And your latest was the Chalice of the Void. But I noticed you're still playing Yorion. But I don't really see you playing white cards. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, so I started with the blue-white version with Solitude and Prismatic Ending, and it was great. Problem, I was getting crushed by control, so I want to, I want to add in Mutavault, I want to add in Urza Saga to crush the control decks, but then, like, the mana base is unstable with blue-white, so I'm like, okay, can we go back to mono-blue? Can I go back to mono-blue with these adjustments, but still be good against the Ragavan, Dragon Rage Chandler, Death Shadow decks? And the answer is like no. So I'm like good against control now, but I'm like really bad against all those stupid one-drop decks that like basically Dragon Rage Channel and Ragavan. And after a few weeks of trying, because it felt like Mono Blue had something there, I'm giving up. So I will go back to Blue White. I will go back to Solitude. But there are some lessons learned from Mono Blue. Urza Saga was just above and beyond amazing. So I will try to make a Blue White deck with Urza Saga as an addition, and maybe I'll play with that. What's the March, the white one, the new one that came out of
March of Otherly World or something or other.
Yeah, March of Other. Someone was playing that in the Merfolk community. There's a Merfolk player, Matt Maddock. He's got a few 5-0s already playing with that card. Maybe that's better than Solitude. I don't know, but I will go back to my Solitude thing and. Yeah, I'm not dropping Yorion, that's for sure. Yorion was amazing in both versions.
If you don't mind me making the observation, since you've started playing Urza Saga, though, I've noticed you complain about your own mana base more. After Urza Saga leaves the field, you now seem to be at a mana deficit.
Well, that might be... So that's true that I am at a mana deficit, but maybe my curve is just high for an Urza Saga deck, so I'm not used to playing with this card, this Urza Saga land. Because first off, I am low on lands, but my curve is also very high. I'm playing like Master of Waves, I'm playing with Subtlety, I'm playing with Yorion. So the curve is pretty high, it's pretty chunky. So maybe either I add more lands, which is not hard for me to do, or I lower the curve and, don't have things like Master of Waves, and maybe the highest card in my deck, the most expensive card in my deck should be Subtlety and Yorion. And maybe Solitude. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But it is a problem, and it's easily recognized, and I'll treat... But the thing is, like, Jund Saga, or Jund Luris with Urza Saga, it's a 19-land deck with Urza Saga. So they're, like, playing as if Urza Saga doesn't even matter. They're playing exactly like their mana base. So it's like, what are they playing with, 17 lands if they're playing with 19 lands? But I'm going to view... But their deck is cheap. It's full of 1-drops. It's just all 1-drops and 2-drops, so maybe they don't care. And they're playing with Ren and 6. So again, they don't care.
You just have to have access, yeah.
Jund is my favorite color pie.
Yeah, maybe that Jund Shadow or Jund.
Oh, I'm all Jets guy. Red, white, and blue. America, baby.
Also, don't listen to me. I'm a terrible Magic player. It was just an observation from watching you play. I mean.
Oh yeah. But it was clear after not just that latest challenge, but like even the prior challenge. I'm choked on mana. If I can get to my 3rd land drop, everything's great. If I can't, I'm screwed. I'm just lost. I can't win off of 2 mana. I just can't do anything. Subtlety doesn't even slow the game down enough for me. So, but it's pretty clear to me. You have to kill Dragon Rage Chandler and Ragavan on the spot in Modern, or you're gonna die. You're just gonna lose. And the mono blue version just couldn't do that. So I gotta scrap it and go back to blue white.
So why don't you play a few more like 1-cast bounce spells?
Because bounce doesn't work in Modern. So what happens is, like I just said a little while ago, card advantage matters a lot. So let's say they play turn 1 Ragavan, and I play Vapor Snag, bounce it back to their hand. It costs 1 mana, but they spent 1 mana on their card. So next turn they just replay the Ragavan, and I'm in the exact same crappy situation I was last time, except I'm down a card, and it doesn't feel very important right now. But over the next 4 or 5 turns, I'm going to be just down a card versus them, and I didn't have much upside. So when you spend 1 mana to bounce something, you have to at least get like a mana advantage. So using a 1 mana removal like bounce spell against a 3-drop or a 4-drop, that's not too bad. That's like a tempo advantage. But spending 1 mana on a 1 mana spell, it doesn't change the game very much, except I'm just going to be down a card.
Yeah.
It doesn't subtly put you down 2 cards?
Yes, but I didn't spend any mana on it. But again, I rather not do that to a Ragavan or Dragonrage Chandler. That would be a job for Solitude. So I don't mind being down 2 cards if I can eliminate the threat completely.
Yeah, I would feel that. Yeah, Exile would be a lot better than that. Solitude would be better than Subtlety. So,
Yeah, Subtlety is really good versus things like Murktide Regent, where they invested a lot in their graveyard, and then they exile their graveyard to play their Murktide Regent, and then I Subtlety it back on top of their deck, and then all of a sudden they can't even recast it, even if they put it on top of their deck, because, well, they have no more graveyard anymore. Same thing with Primeval Titan, that costs 6 mana. So, like, it's the higher casting cost spells, that's where Subtlety shines. Also, Planeswalkers, but for the cheap things, I'd rather play with the Solitude.
And it looks like we're also out of New Capenna getting a full Ascendancy cycle to go along with each of the not triomes. So one of the so far the only one we've gotten a little preview on here is Broker's Ascendancy. So for a green, white, and blue, you get an enchantment at the beginning of your end step. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each planeswalker. So it looks like Atraxa is getting a little bit of a boost right here.
Oh, it's immediately going in the deck.
Yeah. Seems as though we're going to be getting 4 more Ascendancies out of this new series here. So might be getting some pretty tasty gets out of here.
That seems kind of too slow for Modern, though, doesn't it?
Oh, it's complete trash in Modern. It's very funny when hearing your guys' perspective on this card. It's like, oh, this is going straight in the Atraxa deck. I'm like, they probably designed it for that deck.
Probably.
I'm well aware that they're right now building these sets specifically for Commander now. They're not building it for Standard. They don't care. It's now basically every set is built to sell for Commander. That you guys are now ones that are buying the cards and cracking the packs and so on. And so, yeah, cards like that are completely unplayable. But I feel some fear for these Ascendancy cards. There's one Ascendancy card that saw a lot of play, and it was actually infuriating, and it was Jeskai Ascendancy.
Just
and
love it.
I'm really hoping that card does. There's nothing of that power level or design in. Like, it probably won't, but Jeskai Ascendancy, I can still feel the agony of playing against this card. It's just the most awful gaming experience possible.
So one of the things that we like to do as we're kind of closing in on the end of our stream here, we like to get to some of the questions that some of the chat has asked. We do things a little differently than on your stream. We try to put them at the end here. We've got a few. If you want to bring some of those up,
so these people have left already.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, at least they get to rewatch it and get the answers to their questions and get your perspective on a lot of these. So I would really like to hear. It's great to have you on stream here, and maybe have you answer some of our fans' questions here.
Sure.
Now,
I'm waiting to see no previews and just the set release like it was in the 90s. Oh, yeah. I made some suggestion like this. How would people feel about no spoiler season? And you just learn about the cards on the fly.
Sure. Amen. All about it. Let's do it.
I think by doing that, I've got it. Okay. Now, what they do in the packs, when you pop open the pack and you get an arena code, that is how you get into it a week early. They only put them in the paper product. So you go down, if you open the paper product, you can then use that code up to 1 week in advance. You can play on Arena with those cards.
I think that's a technical nightmare for them. I think that would be ridiculous to have it only available to some. And
only the super elite can then play online then.
Pay to
plenty
win?
of
People that
people
have
went to
money.
go buy paper products. Whoever showed
Yeah.
up
I
at their
w-
paper local game store.
If they did this, if they did the no preview season, now I'm a big. I don't really like cracking packs, and as I start saving more of my sealed and I watch it appreciate in value, I really have a hard time cracking products now, because just like you, I crack it open and I just see the dollar signs floating up out of my pack
Yeah.
and disappearing. But
Like fumes.
if they had no previews, this would be much better for content creators, I think. That you don't have all these preview seasons and people looking at all the cards. So they're going to get a much better idea of watching content creators crack packs. I think it would be a boon for us. And I just like it all together. Like back in the day, you didn't have previews. I loved it. You play at the store and man, it's like, what the hell is this card? It was awesome. It was an incredible feeling. And
But
I think that
Mhm.
they
I'll
did the
let you
same thing,
finish.
what they're doing with the arena, right? The whole, you got to go to the LGS to see the cards first before arena. Because arena, they play all the games and then they go to the LGS. They know exactly what to draft. They know how it's going to play out. And for those that didn't, who just wanted the experience of it, they're getting pub stomped, by people that blew a bunch of money on arena.
I was just gonna say that I don't think actually content creators can take advantage of spoiler season anymore at all, and the problem is like no matter how you organize it, it just doesn't matter because the social media and the community of Magic the Gathering is just too connected, too intertwined. So the moment, like, say, someone sees it on my channel, it's just on Reddit immediately. And then it's been
Twitter.
tweeted and retweeted by all the big channels. And it's like, well, I don't get any real or the content creator doesn't get any genuine exposure because it's just out there and there's no way you can control that or, like, monopolize it. It's just too easy and free. That information just goes out, and very often people don't go to the streamer for the source. They'll go to like some sort of spoiler page. So like whatever exposure they get, it would be really little and very like it was like a short burst of, I don't know, a short spark of attention, and then it would just be gone.
One of the things that's not cheap free on the internet is your ability to get the Commander collection items. Now, one of the things I thought was really interesting, and the professor covered this quite well in his Is It Worth It to Buy videos, is that the Commander collections, the green and black, were actually the completion of the spell books that they were selling previously at $20. And these two that they finished with, I believe, one extra card. Yeah, one extra card in them, and they went up to $50. And
Well, that's not
crazy
fair,
to
though.
see the amount that they want us to pay for some of their ancillary products. What do you guys think about that? Getting some really pricey stuff out of Magic.
Okay, I'll speak up. I don't mind. So comparing, green and black to the red, white, and blue, the cards in the spell books, they warrant the $20 price. And I mean, you got Sylvan Library, you got, oh my God, I can't believe I forget the one on the green chick that untaps. Oh, excuse me, didn't mean to offend anybody. The green Seedborn Muse, right?
Yeah.
You got Soul Ring. You just have far more valuable cards in these much pricier Commander
Toxic
collections
Deluge,
than in
absolutely.
the original spell books. So
Yeah.
that's like comparing, I don't know, the Arena starter kit to, I don't know, a starter deck from old, right? They're just not commensurate with each other. So it's not fair to compare the prices for that. The question be that they did that intentionally, knowing that these cards are going to have a lot more value in them, so they can charge premium prices. What I don't like is that I believe these were only WPN exclusives, if I'm not mistaken.
For the foil versions.
Okay, for the foil version. I don't like WPN exclusives. I think that's a crap deal. The stores that need the help the most are the ones that are not getting stuff. So there are very few. We have one WPN store in the greater Cleveland area here out of the 18 or so local game stores. And to be quite frank, if the dude's watching this from Recess Games, he's kind of a dick. So I don't like going there. He overprices everything by like 20 to 30%. But it's the WPN store. So if I want to be part of like some of these WPN events, I got to go to a store where the guy's a dick, and I don't want to spend my money there. So I don't like WPN.
I'm surprised Kid Force isn't WPN, to be honest. They're pretty large and they've been around for a while.
They're nowhere as
Weird.
big as Recess, but I bet it's, you have the similar vibe all over the place. Plus, there's just such a few WPNs. How many do you have near you, Nikachu? Like WPN stores?
I think they're all WPN unless they got
Wow.
downgraded for any other reason. So we have like I think 4 or 5. Like I don't think
Wow.
none of
That's
them do not.
amazing. Because
I know it's funny. From our stupid little city, we are actually quite spoiled. We have like a lot of places we can go buy Magic products. Like
I think they're talking in San Francisco, 2 of like the 20 stores are WPN, and in LA it was like 3. You're talking 2 of the biggest cities in the world. And
maybe there's a difference between WPN and WPN Premium, and I may not know the differences between.
I don't know
two.
about that.
Yeah,
I'm
the
just-
premier stores have a higher threshold for their requirements. You have to hold something, I think it's like 25 people a week in tournaments or some such. It's quite stringent. Yeah.
It sounds very easy for the local game stores around here. They'll easily clear all those things. I know Fusion Gaming always has the highest WPN status, but I can't be certain about the other ones. But I know they are all at least WPN stores. I actually don't know if they're premium, but I would not put it would. There's enough popularity in Magic in Winnipeg that it would not surprise me that they're all WPN premium or close to it.
I've actually been to Winnipeg. It was very, I don't know what you want to call it, Wheatfield kind of. The whole drive from Grand Forks all the way up to Winnipeg was nothing but Wheatfield after Wheatfield, very flat, very cold.
You're just describing Canada in general. Well, I mean, these are the prairie provinces. It's just boring for as far as you can see. I know it's awful.
But no, I think that's not necessarily correct though about DKMTG, where you say that all LGSs are WPN. I'm pretty sure, and I had a discussion with one of the owners.
There's a difference.
There might be a difference between WPN and WPN Premium, but I'm pretty sure in order to qualify for a WPN store, you have to hold so many tournaments, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a lot of LGSs that don't hold any tournaments.
Well, actually, I have a bit of inside knowledge on this. It has less to do with how well they're holding tournaments, and like the new requirement is like the layout of your store. They want the presentation to look nice. But I don't know all the specifics because I don't actually work at the store.
Don't go to Warzone Matrix.
So in the past, it was very like numbers dependent. Like you hold these competitive events, get this many people, and we will do good things for you. And apparently, those are just not the metrics anymore. That's all. Like I loosely understand right now as of today. Maybe because they're not expecting people to show up right now, because of the circumstances, so that they have different metrics for different metrics for the local game store to gauge whether their what their WPN status is. But anyway, that's all I barely know.
So it looks like the last comment we had saved for later discussion, again by one of our diehard subs here on the channel, Savannah Lion. Hope I see another time here soon. Already went to bed. I think they're over in Switzerland, the Netherlands, so it's like 3 a.m. over there. But Savannah was asking, more saying that they don't think there will be guns, that it's not really acceptable for WotC as far as the current social climate and such, that it would probably be a bad brand decision if I were to guess for him to put something as controversial as that in. Now, what do you guys think about that? Do you think that they would be revisiting something that they've done in the past with straight up rocket launchers? They're going to make a fully automatic wand instead?
I think with Warhammer 40K, yeah, I was gonna say with Warhammer 40K, I don't know what else you would call it. Like, it has to be guns. I mean, I have tanks and like I have a full army of Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, and they all have machine guns and stuff. I don't know how you get around that. I think that because it's the IP of Warhammer 40K, I don't foresee them not doing that. It's almost guaranteed we'll have something referencing guns or have a picture of guns. They might not, but I highly doubt that they're going to skate around it.
It does seem that in the artwork that we're already getting a bit of previews for the Warhammer 40K Secret Lair. They are in fact featuring the Ultramarines with their full-on bolter rifle, so you'll definitely see guns in it. But since they're doing it as his secret lair, it might just be artwork featured in the background. Bob, do you think we'll ever see actual equipment that you get to slap on? Is your commander going to sneak through with extra combat damage because they've got a sniper rifle?
So I was going to say, bring up Rick, the fearless leader from The Walking Dead. So if you don't want guns and magic, you're too late already. He's holding a pistol in his hand.
Yeah.
Secondly, if you want to find something that is socially unacceptable, you think that Lucille is any more socially acceptable, a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire that's there to represent something that did one of the most horrifying things on TV with bashing in Glenn's face until his eyeballs popping out, and I will find you. It was, oh my God, that's a pretty grotesque thing. So I don't think they're that worried in a secret lair about offending social sensibilities when they put a bloody barbed wire baseball bat and a gun already in Rick's hand, that it's going to offend him too much to have a fantasy realm mech warrior with guns attached to it.
True, they might just avoid the word gun specifically and use blasters repeaters like DK said.
Maybe.
Nope. There you go. Looks like chat is still moving right along. Yep. And to think it's already past 2 hours in. I know Matt said he had some prior engagements, and got to say, this is a little long in the tooth for me as well.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on the chat. So far, only one guy's actually joined the chat room, but I do have my league game started 7 minutes ago, so I should be there. But 2 other people aren't there, so I'm just kind of
being a nerd here. I'll stay here and talk as long as you guys do. I'll ask my fiance to make me another cup of coffee.
I don't want to take up too much of Nikachu's time. It was a pleasure having you, though, Nikachu. It was great.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah,
I've definitely watched a lot of your videos where you kind of highlight some of the crazy modern plays, like the super low percentage, either bad plays that like just there was no way they could have possibly not gotten like a card that they dug for 15 turns in a row, and then the other way around where like they actually did pull something off crazy. So I like those videos; those are pretty cool.
And the cheaters,
so many more to go through.
Yeah, the cheaters. The cheaters are those are good too. Those are juicy.
Yeah, I got to work on some more cheater ones. I just wanted to add on to this thing, like, is WotC afraid of showing guns on the cards? Because this reminds me, I can't remember even why I was looking this up, but I was looking for kissing on cards, like touching lip kissing, and there's none. There's not a single card in Magic the Gathering where 2 people are kissing each other. I thought that was that was something. Anyway, I thought that was strange. I didn't even there's like kissing on lips even in Disney movies. So I didn't know why this is so offensive in Magic the Gathering. But anyway, I thought that was very
no kissing, but they do have those 2 monkeys doing that other thing.
You got monkeys having intercourse. That's okay. Humans kissing each other. No, we can't. We're pushing.
Even with the wedding, that's surprising that they just did for the Crimson Vow that they didn't have like a wedding kiss or something. Yeah.
Well, but they have a card.
I mean, did they show any lip kissing in the arts?
I don't think so.
No, I didn't. I looked up kissing lips and I tried hard, and then you could even search art. I think on Scryfall based on like imagery, and I put kiss, and there's like kissing of the forehead. That's the most common, but no lip kissing.
You got a kissy face uncard coming just for you, Nikachu.
Yeah, you got naked butts. They've
got a chick that's like seducing a guy that's about to crawl into his lap. Like they've got all kinds of stuff, but no kissing.
Yeah, you can behead people. You can, throw bodies in the ocean. You can do just about anything. Some real gross looking horror stuff. But 13 plus does not mean you can put lips to another set. No.
We've got Satanism in Magic. Yeah. There's like pentagrams everywhere. But no kissing. Ever since 1993, nope.
That crosses a line. Crosses a line.
Yep.
Who does that cross the line for?
I don't know. Sure. And if you're talking about protecting kids, let me tell you, having kids and listening to what they say,
yeah, right.
Jeez Louise. I mean, you hear some stuff that I won't even repeat here on the channel because I don't want to get it, I don't want to get it banned from like
Yeah, I've been
14-year-olds will say.
I remember
It's like,
being in chess
geez.
clubs and like especially I don't know the 8 to 10-year-olds they have the widest imagination.
Yes.
So. Yeah, but we can't kiss. That's taboo.
Yeah, I think we covered just about everything we had for our actual outline. Just some extra topic ideas, we usually keep kicking around down at the bottom here. Seems that the neon ink cards were in foil version. The Hidetsugu ones, those were only out of the collector boxes. Now, limiting your availability on them, does that kind of bottleneck where the actual collectors are being able to find those? Is that why they are tailoring them like that? Do you think some of their marking paid off like that, Nikachu?
I have no idea, but I mean the way they are siphoning or like keeping the supply really short, just adds so they can make cards valuable with while still making them accessible. And this card sucks. Is this card any good in Commander?
No, it's terrible. It's a bad card. It's not good anywhere.
It's for
No,
the
it's like-
die-hard collectors.
Yeah.
They're like, they need
Let's-
to own every card, and that one's going to be very rare. They need it.
Yeah.
Let's put it this
Yeah,
way: between the
pretty bad.
Viscera Seer, which was a common, but that's
Yeah.
sort of the chase because of the serialization. That's actually a great card. Does that see modern play?
Viscera Seer is
Viscera
great.
Seer?
It has seen Modern play. It doesn't see
Okay.
Modern play currently, but it can.
Yeah, sack outlets are great,
I'm
especially in
using it on this
Commander.
deck right now.
But yeah, so Hidetsugu, they're oh wow, I'm not going down the tinfoil hat, Bob. That will be here another half hour. But no, they're conditioning us. They're doing some of the right things. I think some of these scarcity, I don't care if you call it artificial scarcity, all of it's manufactured, so all of it's artificial. However, that's the right way to approach it rather than not making the cards accessible. I don't know how else to put it. Just I watched Pleasant Kenobi. I don't know if you watch him. And he was talking about that you don't need to make them inaccessible to make them valuable, right? You could do other things. Do that. Sorry.
Yep.
Sore topic for me.
One of the things I do like is the way that the brand Weiss Schwartz, there's another trading card company. They make a different set of projects, and each release is based on a different hit anime series. So you're constantly getting a different set of artwork, and it's got a totally different theme to it each time you go in. But one of the things that really makes me look at it is that they have different foiling patterns, and some of them are real interesting. Instead of just everything have a shine to it, has almost like plate look to it. When you're on some like steel plating, how it has a little bit of a diamond pattern to it. Each different rarity, since it's Japanese, they'll have ultra rare, double S rare, regular, So a lot like how Magic is currently doing. You've got your commons, uncommons, rares, mythics, and then you have things that are actually really hard to get, even though they're a rare, or a mythic that's super hard to get. There's like underlying sets of rarity. I wonder if Magic will ever increase the number of rarity slots that they have. Maybe they'll end up going to 5.
What do you mean by rarity? You mean like right now we got common, uncommon, rare, mythic, rare, and then like super mythic rare or something like that?
Yeah, platinum.
Giga ultra rare.
You missed one.
Showcase
You missed a
variant.
rarity. Nope. There's actually another rarity you missed, Nikachu. And I'm not surprised because it's Commander only.
Ooh,
I don't think they
I have
even
no
said
idea it
what it
exists
is.
then.
The Prismatic Piper. It's an
Oh,
S
yeah.
rarity.
Yeah.
Isn't it just a token?
No, that's
Nope.
an F rarity. It's the opposite. Yeah.
A
It is
sucky
an
rarity
S
is what it is.
rarity.
I gotta look
And I don't
this
think
up.
I don't think they've spelled out
It's a
exactly
dumb
what
card.
it is.
It's not. It's
I
not.
think
It's not
considered
good.
special. It's a necessary evil for Commander
It's a
Legends draft,
staple
but it's
ish.
it's always available. Like even if you don't draft it, you can have one.
Oh, so it's like a basic land in terms of
Um,
rarity.
Yeah, because
Kind of.
if you don't have a commander
color
in the
pairing.
color that you want, you can use it to replace or to have a second commander if you've got like a partner or something.
Prismatic Piper is the chosen color, and it has partner. Interesting. So
But
it's. I'm just gonna call it.
I've used it
basic
one
land
time.
rarity.
Did you look at the rarity spot on it though? It has the letter S.
It does. Yeah, I see.
Sorry, I was just teasing.
I had no
poking fun
idea.
at you.
This is a
Yeah, I
piece
know.
of trivia I just learned about.
There you go.
You're not missing much.
But to answer your question
use
though,
of
Pat,
cards.
they're doing it whether or not they're specifically labeling it something, but the serialized cards are a different rarity, right? The
Showcase cards.
neon inks are 4 different types of rarity now. Showcase, like Matt said, wow. I don't know if they're ever going to reveal the numbers on all that
What
stuff.
are they calling the
but
new one? Gold Rush or what something?
Golden Age.
The the Golden Age cards in Streets of New Capenna. That's what they're calling the showcase versions, Golden Age.
I'm not super fond of it. I'm just going to say that right now. I'm not super fond of the art. I'm honestly
You were
not.
looking
I thought
forward
they
to
could do
Streets of New
much
Capenna
more.
mostly for the art.
The full art triomes, and screw you, they're triomes. Suck it.
Streets.
The triomes, street triads are the full art. I don't know if you've seen those. Those look pretty sweet. They did a great job on the full art versions of those. Not real fond of the showcase versions of the triad, triome, Juby's Jungle, whatever it's called. But I don't know. I haven't been super impressed with any of the showcase variants recently, like for a long time. I do like the neon ones. I'll say that. Not neon. What are they called? The soft glow from Kamigawa. Neon soft glow.
I'm fine with neon.
Right.
Well, but neon is actually the Hidetsugu one. It's not neon ink, but it's called something like soft glow. Isn't that soft glow showcase? Those are pretty nice. That's about it.
Well, hey guys, I'm probably gonna have to call this one. It's about to be bedtime for me pretty soon.
All right.
As always, it's been wonderful to talk. And make sure if you haven't subscribed that you get down there for some of the links. Make sure that you're watching Nikachu. He's putting out almost daily content. And you can check out both Matt and Bob over at MTG Gaming Bob. They've got some great stuff. And on that note, Matt, anything you want to say before we cut out? Let's go around the table.
Just want to thank Nikachu for spending your time with us. We thought you'd only be around for an hour, so 2 hours is. It was actually a great pleasure to have you on. And
I'm not invited to
talk
stuff very often, so I gotta soak up as much of it as I can when I do.
It was great to have you on. It was a pleasure. So thanks for coming on.
Bob? Is that me?
Yeah, it's you, buddy.
Dude,
It's your turn now, Bob.
I'll echo that sentiment. I'm just going to say this. I'm actually shocked, Nikachu, at, and this is no insult to you. It's more of a compliment that you were so approachable. You're very affable in person, very conversant, and knowledgeable about Magic. So I would say curse you that you always seem to come up with better and more intriguing answers to some of the questions that I have. So kudos in that regard. But you've been amazingly approachable and completely fun to have on. Would love to have you on again sometime if you have time for us down the road.
Oh, we definitely one day we could do this again. Absolutely.
And
Yeah, it
if
was
I
a
might
pleasure
add,
to-
genuine.
Oh, yeah.
You seem to portray you know what, sometimes like content creators, they have like this
Persona?
mask or whatever persona. Yeah, this persona that when they make their videos they're one way. You when watching your videos compared to just talking with you, it's the same guy. There's no difference. It's kind of it's what Bob and I kind of pride ourselves on, and Pat, we kind of pride ourselves on just be us, and you hope that the people that watch you just enjoy you. There's no persona that we put on. So it's nice to see that there's more real content creators out there that just they just enjoy the game and enjoy doing what they do, and they just put that out there, and people are receptive of it.
I mean, overall, you got to be yourself, and you got to find your audience being yourself, because otherwise you will really burn out trying to be somebody else.
Oh yeah.
Well, on that note, stick true to yourselves out there. Be yourself, be great. We know you are inside. Show it to the world. Take care. Love you.
Take care,
Stay
everyone.
hydrated, everyone.